Welcome to a new year of Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. Thanks very much for joining us. We're definitely going to run long tonight. We're jam-packed with programming. We begin with Civil Defense, followed by an episode of Archie, Lum and Abner, Dragnet, an Australian production called D24, followed by Green River Valley, and then a special presentation of Huckleberry Finn. This is episode 1 of 3. We'll be running the second and third episodes in the following weeks. Let's get started.
This station, in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration, brings you by transcription, This is Civil Defense.
This is the river, product of the heavens and of the earth, compounded of rain and snow, and at the source fed by the waters under the earth, the river. For the most part, the river is a friend to man, working with the sun, the air, and the soil to feed the sheep, the cattle, and the crops that sustain his life. The river is a highway, floating on its waters the busy ships of commerce. The river is power. It is heat and light as it turns the wheels of giant turbines to make electric energy. The river is all these and more. For the river, too, can be an enemy. Listen. The time is early spring. The place 300 miles upriver from the city.
What do you think, Joe?
I think it's the worst ice jam I've seen on the river in 30 years, and I think it's due to break up soon.
Yeah, I suppose we'd better flash a warning. You know, it looks like 1 million tons of water backed up by this ice are going to be let loose all at once.
Yeah, listen to that.
You know, times like this, I'm sure glad I don't live downriver in the city.
I only hope they're prepared.
How can you be prepared to fight a rolling wall of water? What can you do when a river strikes in fury? How can you deal with people who live in peace beside a friendly river and who believe that war can happen in Asia, famines and floods can come to India, but who refuse to believe that disaster can strike them? What can you do? How many are going to lose their lives in this titanic battle with the river?
Civil Defense. I'll connect you. Civil Defense. The line's busy. Will you wait? Civil Defense. One moment, I'll connect you.
Yes, I've alerted the whole Civil Defense Organization. It's going to be tough, all right. We better give top priority to filling sandbags, build up the levees, get set for full mobilization. Use Plan D. Let's get the command operation going right away. Sure. I'll give you a call in an hour.
Plan D to fight the river. Let's see what that means.
Sorry, I won't be home to supper right now. I'm on Civil Defense Fire Guard duty.
Hello. Hello, Red Cross? Yes? I'm ready. I'll be down there in 10 minutes.
Motor Carriers Association calling Trailer Unit 122. Come in, 122.
122, over.
Called once to evacuate furniture and household goods from farm 6 miles due west of highway.
Now, here's the plan. We in Civil Defense have been preparing for months for what to do in case of disaster, whether caused by nature or an enemy attack. We have the cooperation of other organizations in this area. Remember, we evacuate people first, then livestock, then personal possessions. Civil Defense Auxiliary Police and Fire Squads will work directly with the regular police and fire departments. You have a list of radiophone operators and amateur transmitters. Here's a map showing the location of every emergency welfare center for feeding and housing refugees. In a way, this is war.
How ready was the city? What would be the death toll when the river went back in its banks? Would there be panic, plague and diseases from polluted water, complete loss of crops and livestock, the bodies of men, women, and children drifting in the surging flood?
I'm afraid we waited too long to move out, Mother.
I never thought it could happen to us.
The water's rising fast. Maybe we should go out onto the roof.
They said the river was coming, but somehow I never believed it. Look, there goes our barn.
The house may be next, and that means we'll go with it.
Oh, surely they'll send somebody. They must have boats already.
All we can do is wait, Mother. Wait and pray.
Not just barns and bridges and factories, railroads to be saved from the surging waters, but people, human beings, you and me. How many lives would the river take? Around their radio sets, other people in all parts of the country listen to the news. Listen, for instance, to CBS News reporter Ed Murrow, who gave an eyewitness story of the flood.
At 5:30 this morning, we stood on the bridge over the river. It sort of strummed in an off-note key as the steel stood against the drive of the water. The bridge shivered and moaned softly. And when the crest came, we didn't know it. Now that there has come a respite, there has been time to look a little at how this battle was fought. Most of the people who fought it are nameless. Some of them just waited for the emergency that didn't come. And as in war, the waiting is the hard time. For 2 days, almost everyone I have talked to has said the key to this whole business, the reason we raised 13 miles of levees 3 feet in 6 days, the reason we evacuated the people so smoothly, the reason there was no declaration of martial law, the reason for almost everything came back to the Civil Defense Organization. I think it may be the real story of this struggle.
What is this civil defense? Let's ask some of the workers. How about you, for instance?
Me? Well, I'm from the Salvation Army, as my uniform shows. We're trying to feed and clothe some of those poor people who lost everything they had when the waters came.
And you there at your desk, where do you fit into civil defense?
I'm an executive of a construction company. Our whole firm is enrolled in civil defense. All our equipment and all our manpower has been thrown into this fight against the river. Bulldozers, trucks, earth-moving apparatus, and the crews to operate them. People who know their equipment. Excuse me, that's an emergency call. The river's about to break through in a couple of new places.
And again to Edward R. Murrow, who looked and reported.
The civil defense people here didn't just make plans to deal with a bombing attack. They trained 4 battalions of auxiliary firemen. They told people how to put out little fires before they become big ones. They trained 400 auxiliary police. Minimum training period, 40 hours. Those are the men who have been handling traffic. The established police force couldn't have done it.
Will he be all right, Doctor?
Oh. Yes, he'll live, thanks to your first aid work before I could get here by boat.
Civil defense tried to train at least one person in each home in the matter of first aid. And the safety record in this incredible operation is magnificent. Trucks loaded with gravel and sand, highballing through narrow streets day and night. Heavy dirt, moving in heavy equipment, slithering in the mud. And so far, not a single fatal accident.
Not a single fatal accident. And the waters rose.
Do you hear anything yet? It's too dark to see.
Not yet, Mother.
Won't they ever come? It's been hours.
Stretch out here on the roof, Mother, and let me put a blanket over you.
I'm so afraid. I can feel the house shaking.
It's a good house. I laid that foundation myself.
John, I'm so hot. I'm burning up. Oh, why don't they come?
There were heroes in civil defense, men and women who never before in their lives had faced danger and death, who had lived humdrum lives, joining civil defense because they were needed and asked, but who thought real action was far off. People like this one.
We might as well give up. The current's too strong.
Oh, we can't give up now. If you'll hold the boat steady with the oars, I'll dive in and rescue them.
Bill, you're crazy. You'll never make it.
Oh, yes, I will. Here I go. Hey, can you pull over this way?
I'm trying.
Okay, here's the first one. Easy. I think her leg's broken.
Easy does it. Now for the kid.
Okay, here's the kid. Good. Well, look what I found. Come on, fella. Into the boat with you. Here I come. How are the others?
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, mother and kid are okay.
Yes, human beings risk their lives to rescue other people. And livestock, household pets too, when they could. And the battle went on, directed by Civil Defense, with an army of people belonging to all walks of life, to all sorts of cooperating organizations. The battle was being won slowly. How? Planning did it. Ed Murrow knew when he broadcast these words.
When the flood started, the authorities said, first of all, we ought to make a list of all the heavy equipment, all the trucks, bulldozers, and all the rest. And the civil defense authorities just reached into their files and said, all right, if you want it, here it is. All ready for you. We made it up months ago. We know exactly where every truck, bulldozer, every drag line, every piece of heavy equipment is to be found. And when men were wanted, civil defense had both the plan and the leaders. They hadn't recruited a lot of people and then given them nothing to do. But they had the equivalent of the staff, company, and even squad leaders. And that had all been established.
Oh.
Are you all right, Mother?
It's so dark.
How's the fever?
First the chills and then the burning. Oh, why don't they come?
I don't know. I've been praying, Mother.
Water.
You can't drink it. It's full of disease.
Millions of gallons of water right up here to our roof, and you can't drink it. John.
Yes?
If I die, will you...
Don't say that, Mother.
Oh, I'm so sick.
Help will come. It has to come. Maybe I can swim and bring help.
Oh, no, you'd be drowned.
I can't let you suffer.
John, there's a light.
Where?
Over there. It's a boat. Call to them.
Help! Help! Over here! Over this way!
Hello! Flash a light!
I haven't a light. Right this way, over here.
Well, we'll have you out in a jiffy.
Do you hear, Mother? The Lord has answered our prayers.
Yes, that was the river. That was the city. And those were its people. And this is civil defense. As Ed Murrow tells us...
More special passes are needed, so a printer gets out of bed at 4 a.m. and prints them. Some billy clubs are needed, so a man opens his shop and turns them out on a lathe. The other day, they were filling sandbags at the rate of $10,000 an hour. It was decided they required $15,000 an hour, so they just up and filled $15,000 an hour on a 24-hour basis.
And who knows whether this year or the next there may be an enemy attack, or another river, another city, or another kind of war, where your services as a civil defense volunteer may save your own life or the lives of the ones you love.
This one episode in a long line of civil defense services in natural disasters is based on the actual sequences occurring during the Missouri River floods of April 1952 in the Omaha, Nebraska vicinity. This is Civil Defense, brought to you by the Federal Civil Defense Administration, is written and directed by Jack Weir Lewis, and is produced and transcribed by the Rocky Mountain Radio Council.
Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie, relax.
Yes, indeed, it's time for Archie Andrews, his family and his friends. Archie, Jug, Mom, Dad, Betty, Veronica, and all the gang in the little town of Riverdale. They're all familiar to millions of readers of Archie Comics magazine, and now they come to radio. So relax, folks, relax. You've heard the old saying, never look a gift horse in the mouth? Well, as far as Archie is concerned, that's a horse of a different color. And furthermore, today's story has nothing to do with horses. It's all about, well, listen and find out. It's early morning, and we find Mr. and Mrs. Andrews in the dining room with breakfast.
Where's the toast, Mary?
Oh, it's right in your hand, Fred.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm all mixed up.
Now, dear, you'll just have to relax.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't got much time this morning. I have to be in the office in 10 minutes and clean up my work and meet the 11 o'clock train.
Well, goodness, you don't have to swallow your toast in one piece. You'll get indigestion
Well,
again.
I can't help it, Mary. Mr. Lodge has appointed me a committee of one to meet Mr. Hotchkiss and show him around the school. It's entirely up to me to... Don't we have any butter today?
It's margarine, Fred, and it's right next to your coffee.
Oh, yeah, I can't seem to keep my
now,
mind.
dear, you just have to get hold of yourself. The way you act, anybody would think it was a matter of life or death.
Well, don't you think the education of the future generation of Riverdale is important, Mary? And don't you think that my contribution is worth anything?
Now, Fred, I never said that.
I am fully aware of what you said, Mary. As the committee of one, it's up to me and no one else to convince Mr. Hotchkiss that an annex to the high school is absolutely vital.
Yes, Fred, I know. And I'm sure that Mr. Hotchkiss will realize the importance of the annex and will agree to recommend the necessary funds.
That's where you're wrong, Mary. Mr. Hotchkiss is a hard nut to crack. He's a representative of the governor's office, and where funds are concerned, they... Now, what happened to my coffee?
Oh, you got your sleeve in it, Fred.
Oh, darn it. Everything's going wrong today. Well, I gotta go. Goodbye, Mary.
Goodbye, Fred.
Oh, and there's one more thing. Be sure not to use the car today. It's got a carbon monoxide leak, which has to be fixed. Something wrong with the exhaust.
Oh?
I'm gonna call the garage. And don't forget about the dinner, dear. Mr. Hotchkiss is a stickler.
Yes, Fred, I know. You already told me.
Now, you don't have to bite my head off, Mary, just because I'm concerned.
But I'm not biting your head off. It's you who's been up in the air.
Now, Mary, I haven't said anything that you could possibly misinterpret.
I'm not misinterpreting.
Well, you
I
said...
think, Fred, that you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Now, Mary, that kind of accusation will only lead...
Fred, I'm losing my patience.
Well, how do you think I feel? Don't you know that...
Morning, everybody.
And that'll be enough out of you, young man.
Gee whiz, what did I do?
I don't know. Nothing. Never mind. Just make sure you don't do it.
Do what, Dad?
Oh, never mind. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Fred.
Golly, what's Dad so sore about this morning?
Oh, he's worried about the future of Riverdale, Archie.
He is? Is it something I should worry about too, Mom?
No, now you sit down and eat your breakfast.
Yes, Mom.
And don't make a career of it, dear. I have to be in the day nursery in 10 minutes.
Okay, Mom. I'll finish my orange juice and toast and oatmeal and milk and eggs and jam before you can say... Well, gee whiz.
What's the matter now, Archie?
Gee, look at this headline.
What headline? Where are you going, Archie?
I'm going to call Jughead. Oh, boy.
Archie, will you please finish your breakfast?
Yeah, Mom, in just a minute. Riverdale 47, operator, 47.
Riverdale 47.
As soon as I'm finished with this call, Mom, I just want to talk to Jug. Boy, is this going to be something.
Hello?
Hello, Jughead, come on over. It's a matter of life or death.
Relax, Archie, relax.
But, Jughead, it's right in this morning's paper. Look for yourself. I mean, listen to this. It says, Nazi prisoner escapes from camp near Riverdale. All citizens are urged to keep a sharp lookout.
Uh-huh.
See, Jug? Maybe we can organize a searching party. You know, a manhunt.
You think so?
Sure.
Well, all right. But do you mind if I finish my breakfast first, Archie? I can't do much searching on an empty stomach.
All right, and I'll finish mine, too.
You do that, Archie.
Goodbye. I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Goodbye.
Now, Archie, I want you to keep out of trouble.
Oh, sure, Mom. I'm not going to do anything rash. Gee, if you don't have to worry, I'm just going to keep my eyes peeled. I can at least do that, can't I?
Yes, I suppose so.
And if accidentally I should happen to see the Nazi prisoner, the least thing I can do is to report him to the FBI. Isn't that right, Mom?
All right, Archie. Eat your breakfast.
Oh, boy. Wait till Veronica reads the headline. Local boy captures escaped Nazi single-handed.
Are you sure the paper said the escaped Nazi prisoner was in Riverdale, Archie?
Golly, would I be telling you a thing like that if I wasn't sure? Of course I'm sure.
Yeah, but the war with Germany is over.
What's that got to do with it, Jug? Gee whiz, the way you talk, anybody'd think you never read the papers. We still got Nazi prisoners, and when they escape, the FBI wants everybody to keep a sharp lookout for them.
Hello, Archie. Hello, Chuckhead. Hello, Archie.
Hello, Veronica.
Hello, Betty. Did you read about the Nazi prisoner?
No.
Right after school, Archie and I are going to organize a hunting party to track him down.
Sure, we're going to capture him single-handed.
Oh, Archie, you're too funny for words.
I don't think that's so funny, Veronica. I don't think that's so funny.
I think it's hilarious. Well, I don't.
Sure, you tell her, Betty.
I think it's a very good idea. And I'd like to come along, too. May I, Archie?
Well, I don't know. Manhunts aren't safe for girls.
I don't
don't see why not.
Now, Betty, let's not argue. Let's not... Gee whiz.
What's the matter, Archie? Do you feel sick?
Gee whiz.
What's the matter, Archie? Do you have the cramps?
That's him.
Who?
That's him.
Where?
Over there, standing on the corner. The Nazi prisoner.
Oh, Archie, this is too silly. Come on, Betty, we'll be late for school. No, you go ahead, Veronica. I want to see what happens. Very well. Bye, Archie. And don't forget to write to me when you get to Washington. And be sure it's on FBI stationery.
All right, Veronica, all right. Maybe I will. FBI station.
Are you sure that's him, Archie?
Of course it's him. Didn't you read the description? I think we better do something before he gets away.
Oh, there he goes. He's walking up Linden Avenue.
Golly, that's right, he is.
What do we do now, Archie?
Oh, I think we better follow him.
Well, that's a good idea. You go first and I'll be right behind you, backing you up.
And I'll be right behind you, Jughead.
And I'll be right behind, Oh, come on. Let's get started on our manhunt. Look at that. I'll bet he's planning to hide in the high school.
What's he doing now, Archie? Can you see?
He's trying the door to the gym.
Oh, boy, maybe he's thinking of blowing up the school.
Oh, Jughead.
Oh, come on, Archie. We better go in. You know what happened the last time we were late. Mr. Weatherby...
Now, listen, Jughead. What's more important at a time like this, Mr. Weatherby or the Nazi prisoner? Gee whiz, if we don't do something right away and let him blow up the school, there won't be a Mr. Weatherby.
What are we going to do, Archie?
I'm going to capture him.
How?
How?
Yes, how?
Don't rush me, Jughead. I'm trying to think.
Well, maybe he has a gun.
That's right, Archie. Anyway, it's 9:30.
All right. If you don't want to help me, then I'll do it alone.
Oh, of course we'll help you, Archie. Won't we, Jug?
Well, all right, we'll help you, Archie. What do you want us to do?
Oh, I don't know exactly.
Well, maybe we better tell Mr. Weatherby and let him do the capturing.
And let the Nazi escape in the meanwhile? Besides, what would Veronica think? I mean, gee whiz, I don't want her to think... I want to prove that I'm
know what you mean, Archie.
You do? You do?
Yeah, we do. But I still want to know how you're going to capture him, Archie.
I got an idea. Why don't we tie him up?
Tie him up? With what?
With rope, of course. Hey, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of it before? Betty, you go in the gym through the back way and get some rope. I think you'll find some underneath the benches on the far end. And get one of the football blankets.
What's that for?
To throw over his head, of course, so he won't see.
Oh.
Then all we have to do is sneak up behind him, tie him up, and then I'll go and get our car and we'll deliver him to the police.
Do you want me to go now, Archie?
Sure, and come back as soon as you can.
All right. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Shh, he'll hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
I still think it would be better to tell Mr. Weatherby and let him do the capturing.
Gee whiz, Jughead, sometimes I think you're scared of your own shadow.
Who said I'm scared? Who?
I did.
You take that back, Archie Andrews.
I won't.
All right, Archie, if that's the way you feel about it, I'll just go inside and leave you here.
All right, go ahead. See if I care. Betty and I'll do it alone.
All right. I'm going, Archie.
Go ahead, I don't care. And don't ever talk to me again, Jughead.
Not ever?
No.
Then give me back my quarter.
I haven't got your quarter. I'll give it to you tonight.
Archie, I've got the rope and the football blanket.
All right, let's sneak up behind him.
Wait, Archie, I'm going with you.
Who said you could come, Jughead? Who said?
I did.
All right, then come on.
Gee, thanks, Archie.
Now he's walking to the front entrance.
I got an idea. You run in front of him, Betty, and distract his attention. Then Jughead and I'll rush up behind him, throw this blanket over him, and start tying him up.
All right. Goodbye, Archie. Remember me if I should get killed.
Sure, I will, Betty.
Yoo-hoo! Yoo-hoo! Heil Hitler! Santa Fran!
Okay, I got him. All right, Jughead, stop tying him up. Now drag him inside the gym. Oh, boy, wait till Veronica hears about this. Will she be surprised? Now grab his feet, Jughead. We'll put him underneath the stand.
I can't. He's squirming too much.
Give me the shovel, Betty.
Don't hit him too hard, Archie. He won't be able to talk when we bring him to the police.
Don't worry. I'll just tap him. There. All right, Jughead. Let's carry him.
Boy, is he heavy?
Look out for the horizontal bars, Archie.
I can see them, Betty. I can see them.
Look out for the wrestling mats, Archie.
I am looking out for them, Jug.
Archie, my hands are giving way.
Hold on to him, Jug. All right. Now bring his feet up this way.
Okay.
We'll roll him under.
Oh, boy. I'm numb all over. You think we ought to tell Mr. Weatherby now so we can call the police?
Now, Jug, I told you we're going to take him down ourselves. Gee whiz, I got to show Veronica
It's 10 o'clock, Archie.
It is? Gee, I better hurry up and get the car. You and Betty stay here, Jughead, and watch him.
Me, Archie, me? All alone with the Nazi prisoner?
Well, gee whiz, you'll have Betty here.
But she's a girl, Archie.
I resent that, Jughead.
You resent that you're a girl?
I resent your saying.
Well, that's a fine thing, Betty, when a man
Oh,
can't...
tie a can on it, Jug. Now, you wait here until I get back. And if he starts squirming again, don't take any chances. Just use the shovel.
Don't worry, Archie. When we get through with him, he'll look like a victory garden.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Fred?
Yes, is this you, Mary? I've been calling you for the past hour. Where have you been?
Why, I've been at the day nursery. And, Fred, I have bad news for you.
Oh, look, Mary, I have no time for that. Have you seen Mr. Hotchkiss anywhere?
Who?
Mr. Hotchkiss. Mr. Hotchkiss.
I can hear you. Don't shout,
I'm
dear.
not shouting. He wasn't on the train. They said in the capital that they took an earlier train, but he's nowhere in town. I thought maybe he'd come out to our house by mistake.
No, dear, he's not here. Fred, I have something to tell you.
Mary, if it has anything to do with Archie, I can't listen now. I must find Mr. Hotchkiss. If he's wandering around town somewhere with nobody to talk to, I'll be disgraced for life.
I'm sure your Mr. Hotchkiss will turn up somewhere. Now, Fred...
Mary, I am very busy. I'll have to call the police.
The police? How did you know?
How did I know what?
That our car's stolen.
Without having the exhaust fixed? What? Stolen?
Yes.
You mean it's not in the garage?
No, dear, the garage doors were wide open and the car's gone.
Well, why didn't you tell me that before, Mary? Here I've been talking to you on the phone for the past half hour and you didn't mention a thing about the car being stolen.
But I've been trying to tell you.
Now, Mary, let's not argue again, dear. We'll let bygones be bygones. I'll have to notify the police immediately.
Yes, you do that, Fred.
And if you hear anything about Mr. Hotchkiss, you let me know at once.
If I hear anything about Mr. Hotchkiss, well, goodbye, Fred. I think I'm going to lie down.
What's the matter? Are you sick, Mary?
No, but I'm going to be if another thing gets lost or stolen.
Hey, take it easy, Archie. You nearly hit that car.
I saw him. You don't have to tell me how to drive.
He's wriggling again, Archie.
Oh, gee whiz, keep the tire over him.
I am, but he's wriggling anyway.
Let's hit him again with the shovel.
Now, take it easy, Jug. We gotta bring him in good condition.
Well, he's not in such good condition anymore. Hey, watch out for that car, Archie.
I'm watching it. Gee whiz, I can't do everything. Oh, boy.
Now you did it, Archie. Now you did it. I told you to watch out.
Golly.
Here comes the driver of the car you hit.
Oh, golly.
He's carrying a monkey wrench.
You sure fixed it, Archie. It's 12 o'clock and we haven't been to school and you just crashed into a car and we have a Nazi prisoner tied up in the back. Boy, are we gonna get it?
Now then, what's the charge, Mike?
Well, please, Chief Clink, I can explain. You see, we were on our way here anyway with the prisoner.
What prisoner?
The Nazi prisoner, the one we captured. We were bringing him in.
That's a fine cock and bull story. You're not going to get off with excuses like that, young fellow.
But, Chief, you can look for yourself. He's in the back of the car.
Did you see anything in the back of the car, Mike?
Nothing, Chief, except an old blanket, a tire, and a shovel.
But that's what I mean. That's him.
That's enough out of you. Go ahead, Mike.
I demand justice. These kids are deliberately and maliciously
And that's enough out of you, too. Now, go ahead, Mike.
Well, it was about 11:27 a.m. Or maybe it was a little later, or maybe a little sooner.
Go on.
Well, I was walking my beat as usual, except that I stopped in the cigar store on the corner of Fountain Avenue to investigate a complaint about a noise that a woman made because she says there was unnecessary disturbance.
Get to the point, Mike.
Well, the point is, this young fella here smacked his car into this guy here, and he had no driver's license.
That's right. And I demand that these kids be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Now, just a minute.
Please, Chief Clink, you gotta listen. The Nazi prisoner...
Now, just a minute, young man.
I demand that these kids be punished. It's getting so it ain't safe.
Now, but
You've
just
got
a
to
minute,
believe it,
mister.
Mr. Clink. Archie's telling you the truth, and
Now,
golly,
just a minute, miss.
Besides, we're late for school and Mr. Weatherby...
Now, just a minute
You
there.
can even call my father and ask...
Quiet! You too, Mike. Listen. Now, let's get to the bottom of this.
If you'll only call my father...
I intend to do that. And furthermore, I intend to call the judge and the truant officer and the principal of your school.
Mr. Weatherby, will that be necessary, Chief?
It will be.
Oh.
Hello? Chief Clink speaking. Yes? Oh, yes, Mr. Andrews.
Oh, boy.
What's the serial number? Z2365J. A black sedan with a dent in the front fender. Stolen this morning.
Chief, that's the car with these kids. That's the license number.
Just a minute. What did you say, Mike?
I said that's the car those kids were driving.
Are you sure?
Look at the registration card.
Uh-huh. Quite a coincidence, Mr. Andrews. We just caught your car thieves. 3 of them. And your car is right here in front of the police station. Yes, an accident. Ran into another car. Yes, sir, Mr. Andrews. We'll hold him all right.
Mr. Clink, Chief, we can explain. I can
Has that to be enough excuses out of you? Mike?
Yes, sir.
Lock him up.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Mr. Weatherby, this is Mr. Andrews.
How do you do, Mr. Andrews? I'm glad you called. I want to speak to you about Archie. He has...
Not now, Mr. Weatherby. Later. I want to speak to you about Mr. Hotchkiss.
What about Mr. Hotchkiss?
Have you seen him?
No. Isn't he with you?
No.
But that's peculiar. Did anything happen to him?
That's what I'd like to know.
Speaking.
Oh, Mr. Lodge, this is Mr. Andrews.
Oh, hello, Andrews. I've been waiting for you and Mr. Hotchkiss. Where are you?
Mr. Hotchkiss didn't by any chance come directly to you, did he?
Why, no. Isn't he with you?
No.
Why, what happened to him?
That's what I'd like to know.
Hello?
Hello, Mary. Did you hear anything?
About what, dear?
About Mr. Hotchkiss.
No, Fred.
Oh, doggone it.
Don't swear, Fred.
I didn't swear. I only said doggone it.
Well, don't say it. Fred, have you called his office in the Capitol?
I called it 3 times and I sent 3 telegrams. They keep insisting he's right here in Riverdale.
Well, how could he be in Riverdale when he isn't in Riverdale?
That's what I'd like to know.
What time is it, Archie?
2:00.
Oh, boy.
Gosh, it sure is cold in this jail.
Wait till Archie's father gets here and finds out it's us. He'll be warm enough then.
Do you have to remind me, Jug? Do you have to remind me?
He's your father, isn't he?
Sure.
And it's his car, isn't it?
Sure.
And it was your idea, capturing the prisoner, wasn't it?
I know it, Jug. I know it.
All right, then I'll keep reminding you.
Oh.
Your father is sure taking his time about getting here, Archie.
That's a fine thing. That's all I have to say. We start out by capturing a Nazi prisoner, we end up prisoners ourselves. That's a fine thing, Archie Andrews.
All right, Mr. Andrews. I'm glad we have the situation straightened out.
Yes, Chief. Thank you very much.
Goodbye, Mr. Andrews.
Goodbye, Chief. All right, Archie, come along. I want to talk to you in private.
Yes, Dad. I'll be glad to.
It wasn't his fault, Mr. Andrews.
He was only doing his duty, Mr. Andrews.
We'll talk about that later, Betty. Now, where's the car?
In front of the police station where the sergeant left it. And the Nazi prisoner's lying in the back.
Oh, Archie, I told you I don't want to hear any more nonsense about the Nazi prisoner. When you get home, you will receive your proper punishment, both from me and Mr. Weatherby.
Yes, Dad.
Oh, all right. Where's the car?
It's right. Why, it's right. Standing in front of... Oh, gee whiz. What do you know? It's been stolen again.
Quiet, you, or I will put a bullet through your head right now. You stupid Americans, you are all the same. Soft, no brains. You will find out soon enough that you have not won the war. Now, listen carefully. I am going to drive into that shed at the end of the road. Then I am going to untie your ropes and we will change clothes. But I want to warn you of one thing. If you make the least sound, I will kill you, you understand? On the other hand, maybe we won't change clothes. No. I will just take yours and put you out on the highway in your underwear. Yeah, that will be funny. That will be very funny. A real American joke.
You say your car was right in front of the police station and it was stolen?
Sure. Don't you remember? Your man put it there himself.
And I'm a witness.
So am I.
No, just a minute. Nobody can steal a car from in front of a police station. That's unheard of.
That's what you say.
No, just a minute, Mr. Andrews. There must be some mistake. We'll get this matter straightened out.
Well, you'd better get it straightened out, officer, or I'll sue the city.
No, look here, Mr. Andrews. You can't go around threatening a police officer.
I'm not threatening any police officer. I want my car. Now, keep calm, Mr. Andrews. We're going to check.
I am calm. Maybe we ought to organize a searching
That'll
party.
be enough out of you, Archie. You've caused enough trouble for one day.
Oh, boy. Here comes Mr. Lodge. Now he'll tell Veronica.
There you are, Andrews. Oh, Mr. Lodge, I've been meaning to get in touch with you about Mr. Hotchkiss.
Precisely what I want to talk to you about. Andrews, I appointed you a committee of one to meet Mr. Hotchkiss and take him through the school. And now you've gone and lost him.
I have not lost him. I haven't even seen him.
I am not interested in your explanation, Andrews. You were supposed to meet Mr. Hotchkiss, and here I find you in the police station.
My car was stolen.
That is no excuse.
Quiet! Quiet! Shut up!
Yes, sir.
Now, go ahead. What are you saying? Yes? Yes. Oh, is that so? Okay, we'll investigate at once. Well, okay, Mr. Andrews. Your car's been located. We just got a report that it was seen on the main highway heading north.
What?
And the Nazi prisoner was driving it.
Nazi prisoner in my car?
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah, he must have untied his ropes.
Well, what are we waiting for? Come on, let's go.
Andrews!
What?
How about Hotchkiss?
I haven't got Hotchkiss. I haven't seen Hotchkiss. I spent all morning looking for him, and I spent the whole afternoon looking for him. And I've made 100 phone calls, and I've sent out 10 telegrams. He wasn't on the train, and he's not in the capital. He's not in Riverdale, and what's more, I don't care if he never gets here. I am sick of Hotchkiss, and I'm sick of you too, Lodge. And if you want an annex, you can build it yourself. Now put that in your Hotchkiss and smoke it.
Now, you American pig, come out. Come out. So, I will take off your ropes now. Remember what I told you. If you let out even the smallest whisper, I will kill you. Now, we will take off the blanket.
This is an outrage.
Silence! Now start taking off your clothes.
No, never. I'll...
Do you see this gun? I can assure you I will not hesitate to use it. Remember, my friend, I am a Nazi. We Nazis do not make empty threats. Now, remove your clothes. It's so hot in here.
You'll pay for this. You and everybody in this town. Particularly those nasty kids.
Don't talk so much. You are wasting time. I feel so sleepy. I guess it is because...
Here are the pants.
All right. Now start with your other. I think I will sit down.
Yeah. So will I.
Don't try to run away. I can see you.
Well, I can see you, too.
He must have gotten away.
Gotten away? In my car? Look, officer. The tire marks on the side of the road.
Mike, slow down.
Okay, Chief.
Yeah, they lead to that shed. All right, Mike, pull in.
Okay.
Yeah, looks like maybe we got something here. Now, careful, everybody. This man's dangerous.
We're right behind you, Chief.
Yeah, right behind you, Chief.
Oh, boy, this is exciting.
Now, come on, Mike. Give me a hand with this door.
Okay.
All right. Come out with your hands up. We got your cup. What the devil?
Hey, there he is. He's asleep on the floor.
His blanket's off.
And he's lost his pants.
Oh, look, Arch. There's another one. There are two of them.
Yeah, this car is still running. Carbon monoxide must have knocked them both out.
Yes, there's something wrong with the exhaust, Chief.
All right, Mike. Let's bring them outside.
Right behind you, Chief.
Come on, Jughead. Let's give him a hand.
Okay. All right. Okay. Drop them here. Hey, come on. Snap out of it. Come on,
Where am I?
Why, Mr. Hotchkiss.
Hotchkiss? Who's Hotchkiss?
This gentleman, he's the representative from the governor's office. We've been looking for him all day.
Oh, boy.
Then this other bird must be the escaped Nazi.
Oh, my head. Oh, Mr. Hotchkiss, what happened?
Those kids.
That's them. They kidnapped me.
Oh, boy.
Archie, I think I'm going home. I just remembered something I had to do right away.
Well, I don't understand, Mr. Hotchkiss. I mean, finding you here. We've been looking for you all day about the annex.
Andrews, I want you to know that after what these kids have done to me, I'll never consent to an annex. Never. Look at my hair. It's half gone.
Oh, boy.
Can't we go home,
Look,
Archie?
Mr. Hotchkiss, if you will only tell us what happened. I'll tell you what happened. After I had those kids arrested for assault and battery and kidnapping.
Oh, boy.
Well, Archie, what do you know about this?
Me, Dad? Me?
You explain yourself at once.
I'll tell you what they did. They kidnapped me from in front of the school. They beat me over the head with a shovel.
Mr. Hotchkiss, here are your pants, and let me shake your hand.
What? Shake my hand? What for? Is this another trick?
Capturing that Nazi prisoner must have been quite a job.
But I never...
Now, no need being modest, Mr. Hotchkiss. You deserve all the credit.
I do?
Of course. You'll be a national hero. Pictures in all the papers.
Well, of course, it was a rather difficult job.
You bet. Say, how did you ever do it? Did you know he had a gun?
Oh, of course. He threatened me with it. But I just said to myself, Hotchkiss, it's your duty to do the patriotic thing and hold your ground.
Well, I want to shake your hand, sir. It isn't every day that you have a chance to meet a hero in person.
Yes.
Archie, we are going home, and when we get there are certain things...
Oh, now, look, Andrews, don't be too rough on the boy.
I'll handle this in my own way, Mr. Hotchkiss. I can assure you he will get his full and just punishment. And I'll notify the parents of the other two.
Now, Andrews, don't be pig-headed. Kids will be kids, you know.
But I thought you wanted...
Never mind what you thought. Forget it. And don't stand there gaping. Give me my pants so we can go back into town and talk about your annex.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hotchkiss. Golly!
Howdy, everybody. Here we are, all ready to take you down to Pine Ridge for another visit with Lum and Abner, brought to you by the makers of Horlicks, the original malted milk. Folks, when you go downtown shopping or when motoring or hunting, take a flask of Horlicks malted milk tablets along with you. There's nothing like them for helping ward off fatigue or hunger. When you begin to feel tired or feel hungry, just dissolve a few of these delicious tablets in your mouth. They'll nourish you while you work, keep you going at top speed when you aren't able to eat on time. Children love Horlicks malted milk tablets. They can easily carry a supply to school with them. You can get Horlicks malted milk tablets, you know, in either natural or chocolate flavor. Either in the small, conveniently carried 10-cent size flask, or in larger sizes. And now, let's get ready for Lum and Abner. Well, yesterday, a Mr. Carter, representing the Southwest Oil Company, arrived in Pine Ridge to negotiate for the oil well that Lum and Abner recently drilled. He seemed very much interested in buying their holdings. And as we left them last night, Mr. Carter and Lum were in conference over the matter. As we look in on our old friends today, we find Lum and Abner down at their newly completed office. Evidently, an agreement has been reached, but the deal hasn't been closed. Listen.
And now, what is it that he's going to give us besides that $3,000, Lum?
Royalty.
You mean he's going to make a king out of you?
No, royalty in the oil business, Abner, means that we'll get so much on every barrel of oil they get off of that land over there.
Uh-huh.
We get $3,000 cash money and 10 cents on every barrel that's sold.
Yeah, well, I'd a heap brother, Lum. We just sold a whole shebang for cash to start with and get out of the oil business.
Well, we'll be out of it. We won't have a thing to do with it. Won't have no say-so or nothing. All we got to do is sit back and get a check from them every month or whatever is coming to us without even turning a hand.
Well, now, how much we going to get every month, though?
Well, that depends on how much oil they get.
Yeah.
They're going to clean the well we dug out good and put casings and stuff.
Put what in it?
Casings.
You mean automobile casings? Cars?
No. I don't know what it is, but that's what he said. I know it ain't automobile casing, though.
Yeah.
Says he believes it'll run 2,000 or 3,000 barrels a day then.
Well, how much will that come to for us?
Well, if it runs 2,000 barrels a day, and he says it'll do that easy, that'll be $200 a day we'll make out of it.
$200 a day?
That's what he says. And on top of that, they're going to drill some more wells over there. Says they're just going to drill all over that 5 acres. We'll get 10 cents on every barrel that's pumped out of there regardless.
Well, Doggy, that does sound pretty good, don't it?
It sounded awful good to me. If they drill 5 more wells over there, say, and they're as big as that one we got over there now,
Yeah.
that'll be $1,200 a day we'll get out of it.
$1,200.
$400 apiece for me and you and Grandpapa. Done figured that up.
For the land sake.
And we don't even have to be here. We can go off and vacate ourselves, go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just let them know where to send a check to, and it'll come every month. That's what I call making your brain work for you.
Yeah, well, now, that's sounding better, all right.
Yeah.
When you said that all the cash we got out of it was $3,000, well, I thought you'd let him give you a skinny.
Me?
Yeah.
Don't you ever worry about nobody giving me a skinny.
I bet old Grandpapa be tickled. He didn't much want to sign that agreement yesterday, giving you full authority to sell the company.
No, I can tell that.
No, he didn't.
But that feller Carter said that's the only way he'd do business.
Yeah.
He told me he's just working for the Southwest Oil Company. He don't own none of it.
You don't, huh?
No. He's just representing the president. That's what I ought to get, you know, somebody to represent. No, that's right, I ain't president or nothing now.
No.
I'm a retard capital.
Well, I don't know what I am, but I'm through working, I know that. I've hit my last tap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't aim to ever turn another hand long as I live.
No.
No. You see that piece of paper there on the floor, Evan?
Yeah?
I wouldn't even put myself to the bother of bending over and picking that thing up for $10. That's just how dependent I am.
I wouldn't pick it up for $100.
That's right. No, I wouldn't either.
What is it?
Oh, just a scrap of paper somewhere. No. Oh, that's that paper I was figuring how much money we're going to make on. Yeah, I'll show that. Look here. Just want to show you. If they drill 100 wells over there, I've got it up to 1,000, but if they drill 100 wells over there and get 2,000 barrels out of every one of them, that's 200,000 barrels, and we get 10 cents a barrel.
For the land thing.
And that's up. No, I never finished that. Oh, that's too much bother. Yeah. Have a cigar, Abner. We can smoke these things all we want to.
Yeah, Lord, we can take life easy now, huh? Just sit around and eat and sleep.
Yeah.
Doggy, that reminds me, too. I'm going to hire somebody to do the cooking over at the place while Elizabeth is gone. I'm just about half-starved myself to death here lately. Trying to cook my own grub and eat it.
I ain't going to hire no cook. I'm going to start eating down at the hotel.
At the hotel?
Yeah.
Doggy, I'm just a good mind to do that with you, Lum. Now, we might start eating over at Sister Simpson's. I believe she sets a better board.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I never thought about that. Evelina eats there, too.
Yeah, well, now, that will be nice for you. You can just sit there and eat and spark Evelina.
Yeah, why didn't I think about that before?
Yeah.
And I believe I'll just call Sister Simpson up and tell her we'll be over there for supper.
Yeah, that's the time. Just telephone her up. Tell her to have some fried chicken, and hot biscuits, and black-eyed peas, gravy, and mashed potatoes.
I'll fix this up.
Doggy, I'm hungry.
Hello?
I could eat my own meal.
Sister Simpson? This is Lum Edwards. Yes, Mom. What are you going to have for supper tonight?
As to what kind of pie she's going to have, Mom, I do know.
Well, it is some of my business. I ain't getting inquisitive. Me and Abner sort of thinking about coming over and eating with you tonight.
Yeah, think about it. I'm coming. I'll be there.
Yes, Mom. Sure, we aim to pay for it. Spare ribs and backbone and fish, huh?
Fish, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, me and Abner is coming over there to eat tonight, then.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom.
Tell her to have lots of it.
And, Sister Simpson, I just wonder if you couldn't sort of put me and Abner and Evelina over to the table by ourselves.
Listen, I say I want to get close to Evelina.
Yes, Mom. One of them big tables if you still got some of them.
Stack it high. Put sideboards on it.
All right. Yes, Mom, I know. 6 o'clock. Yes, Mom. All right. Goodbye.
And you never asked her what she charges, Lum.
I don't care what she charges. I'll get my money's worth. Hungry as I am now.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about expenses now, no way.
Oh, no, Lord. I don't care if she charges 50 cents. I feel like celebrating.
Yeah. I might take Evelina into the county seat to a picture show tonight, too.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Wait till she hears about this deal.
Somebody at the door there, Lum.
Yeah, more likely Mr. Carter's back with them papers.
Yeah.
Come in.
Well, howdy, Dick.
Well, come in, Dick.
Yeah. I just run over to see if you'd made a deal with that fellow on the oil well yet.
Well, we made a deal, Dick, but we ain't closed it yet.
Oh, Lum made a deal with him to where none of us will ever have to do another day's work.
Yeah, sure did. I got us $3,000 in cash and a royalty of 10 cents a barrel on all the oil they get out of the ground over there.
And they're going to drill 100 more wells.
Well, we don't know just how many they're going to drill at. How does that sound, Dick?
Well, all right, Lum. I don't know but you made a good deal. Of course, it'll depend on how much oil you get out of that well.
Yeah. Well, he says he believes when they get the well cleaned out good, it'll run at least 2,000 barrels a day.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There must be a lot of it there. You wouldn't have struck it that close to the top of the ground.
Well, that's what I figured.
Yes, sir. Don't know what you made a good deal, Lum. What's holding it up? You said you hadn't closed it yet.
Oh, I've got the deed all made out to them, laying right here, but I want them to sign a paper relieving us of any responsibilities in the company.
Yeah.
Sort of like that when Squire Skimp made us sign when we bought that land off of him a while back.
Yeah,
Fact is, I copied it right off of that and Squire got us to sign. You seen it. We agreed to assume all the debts and obligations heretofore and hereinafter made by the Pine Ridge Oil Company and stuff like that.
You mean that they're going to pay for all those barrels and the drilling of the well and all that?
No, we'll have to pay for that, but if anything comes up later that we don't know about now, they can't hold us responsibility to it.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea, Lum. That's good business. When's he going to know about it?
Well, he said he'd have to get authority before he could make a deal like that. I reckon he had to telephone the Southwest Oil Company about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, you fellas are mighty lucky, and I'm glad for you, too.
Well, thank you, Dick. I just wish you'd have been in with us on it. Love to see you get rich, too.
Well, I'm sorry now I didn't go in with you when you fellas gave me a chance, Lum, but I can't blame anybody but myself. But now if this boom keeps on, well, I'm making pretty good money down there at my store now.
Well, that's good.
Hey, we'll do our trading down there from here out, Dick. Won't argue about the price, neither.
Wait a minute. Somebody at the door. Come in. Well, back already.
Yeah, come in, Mr. Carter.
Yes, I think we're all ready to close the deal now, gentlemen.
Mr. Carter, shake hands with Dick Huddleston.
How do you do, Mr. Huddleston? Glad to know you.
I'm glad to know you, Mr. Carter. Well, you gentlemen won't talk business. I'll get on out of here.
No, that's all right, Dick. Deal's all made.
Well,
now.
I've got to get back to the store anyway, Lum. I'll see you after a while.
All right, Dick.
Yeah, here, sit down, Mr. Carter. Take my chair.
Thank you. You say that was all right with them to sign the agreement?
Yeah.
Yes, no trouble at all. And if you have the deed ready, I'm ready to turn the draft over to you now.
Well, give it time, huh?
Yeah, here's the deed all made out. That's yours.
Yeah.
Now, here's the royalty contract where we agree to pay you gentlemen 10 cents on every barrel of oil produced on that particular 5 acres.
Yeah.
And here's the draft for $3,000.
That's what I want to see.
Now, that agreement relieving us of any responsibility. Yes, here it is, all signed by the president of our company.
Signed?
Now, Grannies, how'd you get it signed so quick?
Yeah.
Well, the president of our company lives right here in Pine Ridge.
Well, I thought the Southwest Oil Company was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
No, I'm from Tulsa, but the company's here in Pine Ridge. Mr. M.K. Skimp is our president. Maybe you gentlemen know him.
M.K. Skimp?
Well, I'll be dad blamed. That's Squire Skimp.
Well, what do you know about that? If Squire Skimp can't get a thing one way, he will another. And now, folks, let's pay a short visit to the Barker home. As we look in on the scene, we find Mrs. Barker at the telephone talking to her husband.
Jim, I'm sorry to disturb you, dear, but I've got some great news for you. Your dad and mother are in town. Yes, they are. Came in unexpectedly this morning. Your dad's on his way up to the house now. He'll be here any minute. Isn't it grand? They may go back tonight, but they'll be here for dinner. There's the front doorbell. That's probably Dad now. Hurry home tonight, won't you, dear? Goodbye. Hello, Dad. Oh, I'm so glad to see you.
Not half as glad as I am to see you. How are you?
Just fine. Here, let me take your things.
Oh, just lay them on the chair. Did I surprise you?
You certainly did. What are you two doing up in this part of the country?
Oh, well, I had to come up on business. Thought I'd drop in and pay you and Jim a visit. Am I welcome?
You bet you are. This is a real treat.
How's that fine baby granddaughter of mine?
Oh, just splendid. I was quite worried for a time, you know. Her food didn't seem to agree with her at all. But when I called in our family doctor, and he recommended Horlicks malted milk, and from the very first feeding, the baby started to gain, and our problem was solved.
You did just the right thing, my dear. Do you know, we've always felt that it's Horlicks that saved your husband's life when he was a baby? He'd been losing weight steadily, and finally was so thin, we feared we were going to lose him. Then our doctor recommended that we try a weak solution of Horlicks malted milk. Say, we were happy beyond words when we found that little boy began to perk up at once. It wasn't long then until we had a normal, healthy baby again. No wonder that I feel you're giving your little girl a good start in following her daddy's example.
And, folks, there are thousands of families who have had similar experiences with Horlicks malted milk. Horlicks is a wonderfully nourishing infant food. And the easy digestibility of Horlicks makes it a food that delicate and tiny stomachs can easily handle. For youngsters, too, Horlicks is a great food drink. It will help your children to develop sturdy, healthy bodies, sound bones, and good teeth. This is Carlton Brickert, speaking for Lum and Abner and Horlicks, who now bid you all good night and good health. We'll be with you all again Monday night at this same time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
NBC brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. There's a potential killer on the loose in your city. 18 women have been beaten and robbed by this man. The newspapers call him the Werewolf. Your job is to get him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime, investigated and solved by the men who unrelentingly stand watch on the security of your home, your family, and your life. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case, from beginning to end, from crime to punishment. Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday morning, February 2nd. It was raining in Los Angeles. We were working the early morning watch out of robbery detail. Detectives in Los Angeles work in pairs. My partner's Ben Romero. He's a sergeant, and so am I. My name's Friday. The boss is Ed Backstrand, chief of detectives. I was on the way back from the teletype room, and it was 3 a.m. when I got to room 27A, robbery detail. Hi, Ben. What's up?
Keep your coat on, Joe. Just had a hotshot call. Coming, Skipper?
Right behind you. Let's go, Freddie.
Well, what was it, Ed?
Another woman robbed, almost beaten to death.
Well, how many does that make?
About 18 in 6 weeks. Is that right, Skipper?
Yeah, 18 too many. Come on down these stairs to the garage.
Yeah. What about that suspect we had, Ed?
You mean Martin?
Yeah.
Had to release him this morning. But I got a good tail on him, Henderson.
Yeah. We got any reports yet?
Nothing definite to hold him for. Here's the garage. Let's hustle it.
Right.
Then if this isn't Martin's job, Skipper, and he's not the right man...
Then we start all over again, and we work night and day till we find the right man. Here's the car. Let's go.
Ben, you drive.
Yeah, all right.
How do the victims describe this guy, Ed?
Pretty sketchy. Supposed to be tall, dark, long black hair. Last woman said he had a face like an animal, something like a dog or a wolf.
A wolf?
Yeah. She said something like a werewolf.
Something like a werewolf. Well, he almost had to be that, judging from the way he operated. He was either an animal or a raving maniac. One thing we were sure of, he was smart and he was dangerous. For almost 2 months, he'd prowled the streets in a stolen car in the early morning, usually between 3 and 5 a.m., and the victims were always lone women, most of them waitresses, coming to work or going home. He'd drag them into the car, rob them, beat them until they were unconscious, and then throw the body out into the street. That's just what we found when we pulled up to the curb near the corner of 8th and Grand. One cruiser car was already there, and so was the ambulance. About a dozen people were standing around looking at the crumpled figure of a woman sprawled out on the sidewalk. 2 officers were talking to the only witness, a thin, sallow-faced newsboy. His story didn't give us much to go on.
Like I was telling these cops, or these officers, sir, I was walking up 8th Street on my way home as usual when I see this blue Chevy sedan pull up down the block there a little way and dump out the dame's body. Well, actually, I don't know what to think.
You get a look at the license plate?
Well, no, I didn't. Tell you the truth, I could hardly keep from... Well, I was just plain scared.
What did you do after you saw him throw the body out, son?
Well, I just stood there for a minute, and the fellow in the car drove right on past me.
Did you get a look at him?
I sure did.
How close were you when he drove past?
Well, now, it couldn't have been more than, 8 or 10 feet away. I was right over there by the street light near the curb.
Would you know this man if you saw him again?
I don't know about his height or his build or his weight, but, mister, his face I'll never forget.
Why do you say that?
It was just like the paper says about him. Right here on the front page. Here, read it. See? Woman says attacker looked like werewolf.
That's all the newsboy could tell us. The suspect drove a blue sedan. He had a face like a werewolf. We covered the neighborhood for clues, and we questioned a dozen people, but we got nowhere. We took the witness's name and address, and we drove down a couple of blocks to an all-night gas station.
14-hour off to Metropolitan.
I'm going in here and call the office and see if Henderson's called in on Martin. We might still have a suspect.
Right, Skipper.
13-hour off to Metropolitan.
Looks as mad as a wet hornet, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Did you get a good look at that woman's face when they moved her in the ambulance?
Yeah. Sure does like to mess him up.
Oh, I don't know how we're going to get him, Ben, but we better do it fast. Next time it'll probably be murder.
Oh, here comes the skipper, Joe. Uh-oh. Doesn't look good.
What is it, Ed?
Just talked to Henderson. He tailed Martin to a bar in Long Beach. He hasn't been out of his sight for 2 minutes since yesterday. Martin's clear.
And we're right back where we started.
Yeah, with one more half-dead woman in the hospital.
Oh, how about that stolen car, Skip?
Wait a minute.
Victim of
Get that
211
radio
and
up.
attack.
Okay.
Code 3. Ambulance dispatched.
Code?
Attention, all units. On Grand Avenue between Venice and Washington. A woman, victim of robbery and attack. Code 3. Ambulance to task.
Code 3, red light and siren. Come on, Friday, let's roll.
We couldn't be sure, but it sounded like another one. 6 minutes later, we were there. Same story. Werewolf. The next day, the chief ordered the number of cruiser cars doubled in the Central District. This was for the early morning watch with plainclothesmen to back them up. Then the newspapers played it vague, and in 2 days, the story was on the front page of every paper in town. Maybe that should have made the werewolf lay low, but it didn't. Because at 4 o'clock that morning, while Ben and I were patrolling with the other cars, he got his 20th victim.
Attention, all units. Whittier between Soto and Matthews. A woman, victim of 211 and attack. Code 3. Ambulance dispatched.
Here's a report on that blue sedan he used the other night, Joe. Found it out on Anaheim Telegraph Road.
Any luck with it?
Not one fingerprint we can use.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Well, how about the auto theft detail?
Same old story, Joe. He steals a car, uses it once, and then drops it. Never leaves a thing behind.
Well, that's great. We're sure moving fast.
How about that big guy you picked out of the lineup this morning?
Oh, I checked his alibi. It's perfect.
Now we haven't got even half a clue.
Yeah. Well, come on. Let's check with Ed. He's instructing the policewomen on a plan for tonight.
All right. Now you've heard the report. You understand how the suspect operates and what you're to do.
I think so.
Remember, all of you forget you were ever policewomen. Change the way you walk, the way you carry yourselves. That's the part you're playing, all right?
Okay.
And be careful and don't take any chances. All right, Freddie.
Okay, Ed. Now, just to make sure you look the part, we're spotting each one of you at different restaurants and coffee shops throughout the Central District. And from 7 o'clock tonight until daylight tomorrow, each one of you is going to be a waitress. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay, Ben, you want to give them their assignments?
Okay, Joe. Well, here's the way it lines up. Marge Kissel at the Top Hat Cafe. That's on 9th Street between Alpharetta and Westlake.
Okay.
And Katie Welch, Joe's Coffee House, Brooklyn, Soto.
Right.
Pat Fielding at the All-Night Steakhouse on Figueroa Street between Florence.
No, the trick of using decoys to lure criminals into a trap wasn't exactly new, but, well, it was just one of the old tricks that we figured might land the werewolf behind bars. At 7 that night, Ben and I made the rounds and found each of the policewomen on her job as a waitress. Well, the overall plan was simple. The girls were to leave the different restaurants between 3 and 5 a.m. that morning and pretend they were walking home.
We mapped different courses for each one of them to throw out as much bait as possible and yet not to make it look suspicious. Each policewoman, from the time she left the restaurant and stepped out into the deserted streets, would be pretty much on her own. We had officers planted all along the way at designated intervals, but a big element of chance and danger was still there. All we could do was cross our fingers and hope.
How much more time, Joe?
Let me see. She's due in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Waiting gets on your nerves.
And it won't be long.
This corner doorway's a pretty good lookout spot.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Listen.
Who is it, Joe? Can you see?
Get back.
What is it?
Wait a minute. It's Marge Kissel. There's a man following her, a big guy.
If it's the werewolf, where's his car?
I don't know. Maybe he changed his plans. Get back. Here they come.
You get a look at him, Joe?
Oh, pretty good. He's not too suspicious. Might be coincidence.
Well, I got a pretty good lead. Come on, let's go.
Stay back in the shadows.
Hey, Joe. So where'd the guy go to? I lost him.
A little coffee shop up in the next corner, see? Take a look.
Oh, yeah. He's opening the door. He's turning on the lights. Yeah. Looks like a false alarm, Joe.
Well, let's check him anyway. Well, I didn't think we'd be that lucky on the first try, and we weren't. We asked the man a few questions, and it didn't take him long to show us he wasn't our man. He owned the coffee shop. So, Ben and I went back and took up our posts again and waited for the next decoy. We covered that 10-block course 6 times that morning, back and forth, following the bait, but it was almost as if the guy could sense a trap. Not once did we get a nibble. By the time our last decoy finished the route, it was almost daylight.
Joe, I never was so glad to see that sun come up in my whole life. My feet feel like they're puffing right up out of my shoes.
Yeah, me too. Come on, let's get over to the car and check on the other squad out in Boyle Heights. Huh? Oh. Hit the radio, will you, Ben?
Yeah. Joe, there must be some easier job on the force than this.
Yeah, you and me both. Now, let's see what happened to the others, huh? 80K to Unit 104K. Come in.
104K to Unit 80K. Go ahead.
104K, this is Friday. You do any good out there?
This is Miller. I'll call Curtis. Stand by.
80K to 104K, Roger.
What do you think, Joe? Maybe a bite?
I don't know. Oh, this guy seems to work like a mind reader. Well, he can't win all of them.
104K to Unit 80K. This is Curtis. Go ahead.
This is Friday, Al. How'd you do out there? Any luck?
Just checked in the last gal, Joe. Eddie Welch, not a sign.
Okay, Al. Have the men check in. 80K clear. KGPL. Okay, let's go, Ben. When we finally got back to the office that morning, both Ben and I were ready for some sleep, but it didn't look like we were going to get it. We just about finished going through the overnight reports for some kind of a lead when the phone rang. Robbery Friday.
Hi, Joe. This is Wilkerson, auto theft.
Hi, Wilkie. You got something for us?
Not much, Joe, but it might work into something. Just got a report in on a pair of stolen license plates.
Oh?
Yeah. I'm not much of a hawkshaw, but I figure there's just a chance it might be your werewolf boy.
How come?
I don't know. Maybe just a hunch. After 13 years in this business, you get to know thieves pretty well. Sometimes you got to even think like them.
Okay, Wilkie, thanks. We'll check by in a couple of minutes.
Right, Joe.
What do you have to say?
Pair of license plates stolen last night. Wilkie's got a hunch it could have been our man.
Well, might be an angle, Joe. If that werewolf guy'd hang on to one car long enough, we'd have a chance at him.
Well, he's too smart for that.
I don't know, Joe. Sooner or later, he's going to make a mistake.
Yeah. Come on, let's check with Wilkie. Well, we checked with Wilkerson. We got the best piece of news we'd had in days. On the average, 95% of stolen cars are recovered or located within 24 hours. In the remaining 5%, Wilkerson, by a simple process of elimination, narrowed down the number of cars the suspect might be driving. Wilkie figured 6 cars.
There they are. Now, I'll bet you if you picked up your man tonight, he'd be in one of these cars.
Let me see, huh? 2-door black sedan, yellow convertible, another sedan, green, blue coupe, black coupe, and a gray convertible. Well, that's good work, Wilkie. At least we got something to look for now.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. Wilkie, you got the numbers of those stolen plates you're talking about?
Yeah, right here, Ben. They're already on the hot sheet.
Good. Keep us posted, huh?
As usual, Ben.
See you later, Wilkie.
That's a good break, Ben. Something to keep us busy tonight.
Tonight? What do you mean?
We're setting another trap. Same thing as last night. Same police women, same everything.
Well, only this time let's hope he steps into it. You know, Joe, this werewolf character's getting me mad.
That night, we followed in our own footsteps. We planted the policewomen decoys in 3 separate districts, and a few minutes before 3 a.m., our squad of men took up their positions. The same policewomen went to their waitress jobs in the same restaurants, and Ben and I and the rest of the men stood in darkened doorways or empty filling stations or whatever cover we could find. And we waited and waited.
What time is it, Joe?
Let me look. 4:30.
Oh, thank you. Any sign, Joe?
No, nothing yet. Come on, stay in the shadows. That's the way it went all through the early morning. The same plan over and over again until daylight. Ben and I'd check in at the station, go over the late stolen car reports with Wilkie, catch a few hours sleep at home, and then come back and do it all over again. The next night, and the next morning, the night after that, and the morning after that. 5 days later, Ben and I were ready to call it quits.
I'll admit it, Joe, I can't figure it. The guy's either psychic or else he can smell a cop a mile away.
Yeah, well, at least we got that stolen car angle left. You check with Wilkie yet this morning?
I'll give him a call now.
All right.
Auto theft, Wilkerson.
This is Ben, Wilkie. You got anything for us this morning?
Yeah, I was just going to call you. You fellas ought to let me solve your cases for you.
Why? What'd you get?
The boys picked up 3 of those 6 stolen cars since late yesterday.
Great. Now, what does that leave us with?
Well, here are the 3 still missing.
Yeah.
4 X-ray 763.
Yeah.
5-6 Young 342. 6-1 Robert 385.
Yeah.
Got those?
Yeah, thank you, Wilkie. Check you later.
Good news?
Remember those 6 missing cars?
Yeah.
Wilkie says the boys found 3 of them since late yesterday. Here's what's still out. The blue coupe, the yellow convertible, and the gray convertible.
Yeah. Well, this feels like the right track for a change, Ben.
Lady, Romero, got a minute?
Sure thing, Skipper. Come on, Joe.
What do you got, Ed?
Woman out in Hollywood just called in with this. She said she walked down to the corner from her house last night to mail a letter. On the way back, a guy pulled up in the car and tried to drag her inside.
Any description?
Big, heavy set, dark, same thing.
Well, how'd you get away from him, Skipper?
She said she started running. As soon as he made a motion toward her, and he saw her run up the steps of her house, he jumped back in the car and took off.
Well, how come she didn't call in before this?
She hasn't got a phone. She's afraid to leave the house again until this morning.
Sounds good, Chief. You got her address there?
Yeah. Mrs. Tom Burdick, 1237 Wilcox, apartment 10.
Come on, Ben. This might be what we're looking for.
Who is it? Who's there?
Sergeant Friday, ma'am. Police.
Oh, just a moment.
I'm Sergeant Romero, Miss Burdick. This is my partner, Sergeant Friday. We come out to check on your call about that little trouble last night.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to be much help to you. I was so frightened about all I could do was just run.
Well, could you add anything to the man's description, Miss Burdick? I mean, other than what you told the chief on the phone?
Well, now, honestly, I don't think I can. All I saw was this tall, dark man jumping out of his car and starting for me. He had a heavy build and seemed to me, well, a large head with lots of long black hair.
Miss Burdick, would you recognize this man if you ever saw him again?
Well, I think I might. He was such an unusually big man, almost frightened me to death.
Well, just one more question, Miss Burdick. Could you describe the car this man was driving when he approached you?
His car?
Mm-hmm.
Why, yes. It was a gray convertible.
Miss Burdick, are you sure of that?
Yes, I'm sure of it. A gray convertible.
Thank you, Miss Burdick. That's all we wanted to know. Sometimes when you're on a case, you can chase yourself around in circles for weeks trying to fit together just 2 little pieces of a yard-long jigsaw puzzle. And a lot of the time, you find the answer where you least expect it. But once you get that feeling you're after the right man in the right way, there's nothing that can shake you. When Ben and I got back to headquarters, we went straight to the chief's office with the story, and we had him stake out the gray convertible. In other words, if any detective or officer spotted the car, he reported it back to us, but he stayed away from it. We figured that there probably weren't more than 2 of the victims who could take the witness stand and identify the man who robbed and beat them. Not with a smart defense lawyer, anyway. So there was only one way to catch this suspect. Red-handed.
Here they are, Joe. Both sets of license numbers for that gray convertible. Here are the original, and here are the numbers on the stolen plate.
Good. Everybody got a hot sheet?
From the chief all the way down to the janitor.
Fine. Now let's get together with Ed, huh?
Hot shot, Joe. Grab it.
I got it.
On the corner of California and Oakwood, a woman badly beaten. On the corner of California and Oakwood, a woman badly...
Come on, Ben, another one.
But, Joe, it's broad daylight.
Yeah, doesn't figure, does it? Come on.
That vacant lot over there, Joe.
2 plainclothesmen and uniformed officers were keeping the crowd back. An ambulance was drawn up by the curb, but it was empty. When we got down to the rear of the lot, we found out why. They were waiting for the coroner. The woman was young, not much more than 30. Her body was half sprawled across the muddy ground, and her face was turned upward. It had been badly beaten.
They figured it happened last night, Sergeant.
Have the fingerprint men been notified?
Yeah.
How about the crime lab?
Just called them.
That's good. Now, let's keep everybody out of the area till they get here.
All right, Sergeant.
Who found the body?
One of the kids in the neighborhood. The woman was dead when he found her.
Did she live around here?
About a half mile away. I hear she's got 3 kids. Or she had 3 kids.
You've seen enough, Ben?
Yeah. Let's get on back to headquarters.
All the way back to headquarters, Ben and I planned our next move. And by the time we got to Ed Backstrand's office, we knew exactly what had to be done. When we told him about the werewolf murder, he didn't say a thing for a minute. He just stared across the room at the calendar on the wall. Then he brought his hand down hard against the desk.
Friday, Romero, I'm only going to say this once, so get it straight. That guy's pulled his last job in this city. He's through robbing and beating women, and he's through with murder. I've given you time to track him down, and now I want him in. No stalls and no excuses. I want him. I don't care how many men you use, and I don't care how you get him, but get him. That's all.
Ben and I worked all that afternoon, right through dinner, up until 8 o'clock. By that time, the overall plan was down on paper and already in action. It was one of the biggest things we'd ever tackled, and, well, we didn't know if it was going to work. We only knew it had to work. We had a squad of 65 cars to stretch out over 40 square miles of the city in one big dragnet. The blockade itself would be stationary most of the time, and working inside it would be 2 cars, 14 policewomen as decoys, with 2 plainclothesmen assigned to watch each policewoman. If and when the werewolf was sighted in the gray convertible, we'd automatically take over the police radio for the whole city, and Backstrand would direct the chase from headquarters. A little after 8, we had coffee and hamburgers, and we went to Ben's for a few hours. Ben tucked his kid in bed as usual, and then he laid down for a nap. I talked to his wife until I dozed off in the chair. At 11:30, she woke us up. I combed my hair and put on my coat. Cops' wives are like everybody else's. They worry. When we met Ed at headquarters, we did some last-minute checking on details with Backstrand for about a half an hour, and then we were all ready to go. By 5 minutes past 2, half the Dragnet crew pulled out of the police garage and scattered over the city to their places. By 2:35, the other half pulled out, and a few minutes later, Ben and I followed. At 3 minutes to 3 that morning, Backstrand took over communications and checked every car in the operation.
Stand by. 617.
It was a good start. Every man in his right place by the right time. The trap was set. All we needed now was to find our suspect, the werewolf, inside.
Control 4 to Unit 80K. Control 4 to Unit 80K.
80K to Control 4. Go ahead.
This is Backstrand, standing by.
80K, roger. Clear. KGPL. Okay, Ben. Now let's go find him.
I got a hunch, Joe. Let's try the Wilshire district first.
Sounds all right to me. Let's go. For the first hour and a half, we raked the Wilshire district back and forth. Not a sign. Then about 38 minutes past 4, we headed back for the downtown area and parked in an alley where we could double-check on one of our policewomen decoys.
Here comes one of the gals now, Joe. Pat Field. Bet her feet are almost as tarred as mine.
Yeah. You see anything else, Ben?
Nothing. Quiet as a church. No, wait a minute. Car just turned the corner. Heading up in the same direction she is. Joe, Joe, it's slowing down. Wait a minute. It's pulling up beside her. It's a gray convertible. It's him, Joe. Come on.
Ben, get out. He sees us. He's got a gun.
You all right, Ben?
Yeah, look at that guy take off. 80K to Control 4. 80K to Control 4.
Unit 80K, go ahead.
We've spotted the suspect. He's driving a gray Ford convertible, license 61 Robert 385. Suspect's headed east on Olympic from Alameda, driving without lights. Suspect is armed. He had a fast car and he knew how to drive it. We almost lost him twice. 2 minutes after we sighted him, Backstrand took over full radio control.
Control 4 to Unit 80K, your location?
80K to Control 4. We're traveling at a high rate of speed, headed east on Olympic, crossing Soto Street.
Control 4 to all units, stand by. Units 11A, 12, and 13R close in on the intersections at Olympic and Lorena. Units 41, 42, 45, and 104K move on the next 4 crossings east of that. To the north and south, units 105K, 14A, 17R, 43T. Block all main arteries.
In the next half hour, the 65 cars in the Dragnet had pulled in like a noose around a 5-mile area. Ben and I hoped it was just a matter of time. Unit 80K to Control 4.
Control 4 to 80K, go ahead.
He's headed north on Fresno Street, crossing Whittier Boulevard.
Attention all units. 80K now pursuing suspect north on Fresno from Whittier Boulevard. Units 15, 105K, 11R, and 18A block off the intersection on Fresno and 4.
Hey, Ben, up there ahead. What's he trying to do now? Look, he's turning around.
Yeah, and he's coming right for us. Watch it, Joe. Look out!
Pretty close. 80K to Control 4.
Control 4 to 80K, go ahead.
Exchanging shots with suspect. Watch it, Ben. Here he comes again. Sure likes to use that gun, doesn't he?
Sure does. Hey, Joe, look. Look, he's turning east. He's running for Hollenbeck Park.
Yeah, 80K to Control 4.
Control 4, go ahead.
Suspect just drove up over curb and into Hollenbeck Park.
Control 4 to all units. Control 4 to all units. Converge on Hollenbeck Park. Suspect is in the park. He's armed. Use caution. Code 3.
Looks like a night baseball game with all these headlines.
Yeah, come on, let's get him.
Yeah. Never say die, huh, Joe? Joe, can you get a shot at him?
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! I'll give up! Don't shoot!
Then step out in the open and get your hands in the air.
All right, I give up. But don't shoot.
You're a brave killer.
Yeah, come on. All right, you get your hands in the air. Come on, higher.
Joe, look out, he's got a knife.
I got him.
Joe, those women were right. He does look like a werewolf.
Yeah. You got your handcuffs?
Yeah.
Okay. Got a cigarette?
I've been out for an hour. Little place across the street. Maybe we can get some there.
Okay. There's the crew from the 41R. Hey, fellas, take him into robbery, will you?
Okay, Friday.
I think there's a vending machine in there.
Uh-huh. Say, you got some change for the cigarette machine, mister?
I think so. Say, who was that guy all them cops were after over in the park a little while ago?
I picked up the werewolf. Been reading the papers?
Yeah. You fellas cops?
Yeah.
Sure made it easy for you, didn't he? All you cops had to do was surround the little fella in the park. Nothing to it, huh?
Yeah, that's right, mister. Nothing to it.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
Walter Barton, known as the Werewolf, was tried and convicted and is now serving a full life sentence at the state penitentiary. This has been Dragnet, the third in a new series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the office of C.B. Horrell, Chief of Police, Los Angeles Police Department.
Tonight's program is dedicated to Sergeant Mario Victor Dairo of the Los Angeles Police Department, who, on the morning of January 1st, 1943, gave his life so that yours might be more secure.
Dragnet came to you from Los Angeles. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
D-24. From the files of the Victoria Police Department, for the first time, come these true stories of unceasing war against crime, of day and night vigilance that protects our life and our property, and of the nerve center that is the Police Information Bureau, D-24.
D-24, D-24, calling car 17, car 17. Proceed to the corner of Union Road and Whitehorse Road, Baldwin. Investigate armed robbery. That is all.
And here to introduce the first program in this authentic new series is Mr. Alexander M. Duncan, CMG, Chief Commissioner of Police for the State of Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Duncan.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments you will hear the first of a series of factual broadcasts. These programs have been designed to give you an idea of the work of your police force and to invite your cooperation in assisting us in our never-ending war against crime. Every police officer is a servant of the public, carrying out a multitude of duties that are essential to the orderly life of the community. We are proud of our record. It compares favorably with any other police force in the world. Our men and women are highly trained, diligent, and not lacking in courage. The area we cover is a vast one. 2.25 million people look to us to provide a 24-hour-a-day guardianship, and the resources we have marshaled to that end are formidable. But if our task of protecting life and property is to be carried out effectively, we must have your cooperation. It is my sincere hope that these dramatic broadcasts will bring about a statewide recognition of the fine work of the police force it is my privilege to head, a realization that your police force needs and deserves your help. The events you will be told about actually happened here in your own state. In them you will find all the action, the excitement, the human interest that is the stock and trade of the writers of fiction. But they are all the more enthralling because they are true. That they will interest you, I am sure, and I am even more certain that they will convince you, if that is necessary, that your police force, the Victorian police force, is something of which you will be proud. We ask your cooperation. We want to proceed and progress in service to the public. We ask for it, but we are really entitled to demand it.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. And now, D-24. The story we're about to tell you is true. We're presenting the case exactly as it happened. But because most of the people concerned are still living, all names have been changed. It's the case of a boy, a gun, and a murder. The constable on duty at the country police station of Warrigal could hardly have realized what a drama was about to unfold as early one morning in February 1945, a farmer entered the police station.
Good morning, sir. What can we do for you?
Good morning, Constable. I want to report the theft of a horse.
A horse? Your name, sir?
Jenkinson.
Right, Mr. Jenkinson. If you'll give me some particulars.
Well, about a fortnight ago, a young fellow came to my place looking for work, you see. Well, he seemed all right, so I hired him. He was a good worker, too. Well, last Friday, I had to make a trip to Melbourne. When I came back last night, the horse was gone. So was the youngster.
And you think he took the horse?
I don't know who else could have.
All right. Well, first, we'll get a description of the horse.
A saddle horse, bay. A bit long in the tooth. That's as good as I can describe him.
And the young man? How old would you say he was?
Oh, about 18, I suppose. Kind of sandy-colored hair. About my height. And his name's Johnson.
Johnson.
I think he's a Melbourne boy. I wouldn't be positive, but I gathered as much.
Right, Mr. Jenkinson. I'll see that police headquarters in Melbourne gets the information.
Oh, and one other thing. My .22 rifle. It's missing as well.
Yes, it began as simply as that. A missing horse and a missing .22 caliber rifle. The constable at Warrigal forwarded his report to police headquarters in Melbourne, while the youth who'd taken the gun sought out a companion.
Bill! Bill! You in there? Bill!
Who is it?
It's me, Blue. Wait till you see what I got.
Shh, don't wake Mum, whatever you do. Climb in.
Okay. Here, hold this.
Oh, 22, where'd you get it?
I'll tell you in a second. Relax, will you?
Where you been the last few weeks?
On a farm in the country. That's where I got the rifle.
You got any bullets for it?
Think I'd take a gun and not the bullets. I took a horse, too.
You did?
Sure, to make a getaway. I left him on the side of the road as soon as I hitched a ride to the city. You got a hacksaw anywhere?
Oh, it's one in the shed, I think. What do you want a hacksaw for?
For the rifle, of course. We'll saw off the barrel and the stock a bit, and we'll have a gun that's a good handy size.
Oh, gee, Roy.
What's the matter? You're gonna do what we said, aren't you? I told you there's nothing to it. If we got a gun, well, we got one.
Sure it's easy?
Of course it's easy. Put a gun in someone's face and they're scared silly. They'll hand over everything they've got. But you gotta be tough. Remember that, Bill. You gotta be tough.
Being tough helps, as the two youths proved to their own satisfaction a few evenings later. When Mr. Robert Clinton alighted from a tram at the White Horse Road terminus, Baldwin, and walked north along darkened Union Road.
Just a minute, mister.
Hey? Put up your hands. This is a stick-up.
Now, look here.
You know what's poking you in the ribs?
A gun.
That's right. Now hand over your wallet.
Here you are.
Flash your torch over here, Bill. £4. Got any more money on you?
There's some change in my trouser pocket.
Let's have it.
He's got a wristwatch.
Hand it over, mister.
But...
You heard him. Hand it over.
All right. Look, you've taken everything. Put that gun away.
Not so fast. Bill, that sports coat he's wearing looks about your size. You could use one, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'll say. Take it off.
You'll be sorry for this.
Come on, off with it.
Be careful with that gun. You can have the coat. There.
Thanks. Now just stay where you are for the next 5 minutes. Let's go, Bill.
Right, come on.
Well, I'm dashed. Stay where I am. See about that. There's a phone box in the corner.
Let me see. Police. The front of the book, I think. Police Department. Here we are. Police, City. F0244. F0244.
Police headquarters.
I want D24.
Yes, sir. One moment. D24.
Hello. Hello, Clinton's my name. I've just been robbed at the point of a gun by two youths.
Where are you phoning from?
The phone box at the corner of White Horse and Union Roads, Baldwin.
Right, Mr. Clinton. Will you hold the line a moment, please?
Now the issue is squarely joined. A crime has been committed, and the victim has reported to D24, the communications section, nerve center of the Victoria Police Department. The machinery of law enforcement immediately moves into top gear.
D24 calling car 17. Come in, 17.
Car 17 here. Over.
Proceed to the corner of White Horse Road and Union Road, Baldwin. Contact Mr. Clinton at phone box. He's just been robbed. I'll supply details as you go.
White Horse and Union Road. I got it.
Hello, Mr. Clinton. Are you still there?
Yes.
You say you were robbed by two youths. Can you tell me what they look like?
Well, it was rather dark, but they flashed a torch once or twice. I think I'd recognize them again.
How old would you say they were?
Oh, quite young. Boys in their teens, about 18 or 19. Well, a bit younger, perhaps. One was smaller than the other. He was the one who was going to wear my coat.
They took your coat, did they? What sort of coat?
A brown check sports coat. Had my initials sewn in the inside. R.E.C., Robert E. Clinton.
What else did they get, Mr. Clinton?
A wristwatch and about £4 odd in money.
Did you notice how these youths were dressed?
Rather plain, coat and trousers. They were grey, I think. It was difficult to tell, but I don't think either had a necktie. And it was the taller one who had the gun.
Right, Mr. Clinton. Thank you. A wireless patrol car will be there in a few moments.
Thank you very much.
D24 calling 17. Come in, 17.
Car 17 here. Over.
Here are the details on that holdup. Two offenders, both boys in their teens. Plainly dressed, coat and trousers, possibly grey. No necktie. The taller one is armed. They'll have in their possession a brown check sports coat, initials inside R for Robert, E for Edward, C for Charles. Also a wristwatch and money. Acknowledge when convenient. That is all.
Union Road's just ahead.
Oh, there's the phone box. Ah, that'll be our man. The one without the coat. Mr. Clinton?
Yes.
Police here. Hop in the car.
Oh, thank you.
We've been given a description of the youths who robbed you, Mr. Clinton. Anything you'd like to add to what you told headquarters over the telephone?
No, I don't think so. As I said, it's dark down Union Road.
What about that gun, Mr. Clinton?
Oh, the taller one had it. He kept prodding me in the ribs with it.
Pistol, was it?
No, it was too big for a pistol. It was a strange-looking gun.
Sawn-off shotgun, perhaps?
The barrel was fairly small. Would a shotgun have such a small barrel?
A sawn-off pea rifle.
I beg your pardon?
What Constable Boyd means is that they probably used a .22 caliber rifle cut down with a hacksaw.
A cut-down .22 caliber rifle. Constable Boyd had hit upon the first important clue, and police headquarters knew that such a rifle had recently been stolen. The Warrego farmer was contacted for further information about the youth who'd stolen his rifle. The following night, another hold-up occurred in Baldwin. The weapon used was apparently the same. The assailants were apparently the same. Patrol cars scoured the area, but the birds had flown. They'd switched their activities to Middle Brighton.
Put up your hands.
What?
No noise. Hand over your wallet.
Oh, you can go to blazes, both of you.
Hand it over. This gun's loaded.
Kids, you're nothing but a couple of kids.
Shut your mouth. Get his wallet, Bill.
Right. Oh, no, you don't. Look here.
That'll teach him. Where's his wallet?
Roy, look what you done.
Shut up.
You killed him. That's what you done. You killed him.
Yes, the two young men had gone a step beyond robbery. They had crossed the threshold of murder. And now, D24. The story we're about to tell you is true. We're presenting the case exactly as it happened. But because most of the people concerned are still living, all names have been changed. It's the case of a boy, a gun, and a murder. A few minutes after the fatal shooting in Middle Brighton, a woman telephoned police headquarters to report that she'd heard a shot and a man scream nearby. D24 dispatched a patrol car to the address immediately.
Who's there? Who is it?
Police here.
Oh, thank heaven you've come. I've been terribly nervous since I heard that shot. You are from the police.
Senior Constable Norman, and this is Constable Crowley.
Hope you haven't come for nothing. I'm certain there was a shot, and a scream, too. At least I think so.
Well, you did the right thing in telephoning.
It's better not to take chances, isn't it?
That's right. Now, from which direction did you hear the shot?
Just down there. Would you like me to show you?
If you don't mind.
Just leave the door on the latch. There's a little lane down here, and I thought possibly... Oh, it all feels silly if it was a car or a cat or something.
Oh, don't worry. If they're all like you and reported anything suspicious, our work would be a lot easier. That's right.
Here we are. This is the lane.
Flash your torch down it, Crowley. We'll see if there is anything. Right. No, nothing there. Maybe on the footpath. That's it. Look here. You'd better go back inside.
No, I'm all right. Is he?
I'm afraid he is. Looks as if he put up quite a struggle. Pockets are turned inside out. I say that there's nothing more you can do, and it's cold out here. Suppose you go inside now. We'll take care of everything.
A man murdered practically at my front gate.
Here, let me take your arm. You're not too steady.
Thank you.
Norman, look what I found here. What is it? A cartridge case. It's from a .22 caliber rifle. What do you know about that? I'd say it was the pair they're looking for over in Baldwin. You see this good lady inside. I'll contact D24. Right.
I do feel a bit shaky.
Oh, it's not very nice. Car 3 calling D24. 3 calling D24.
Yes, 3.
At the Middle Brighton address. It was a murder, all right. A man's been robbed and murdered. And we found near the body a .22 cartridge case.
22. Right, stand by for further instructions.
The officer in the control room at D24 switches off his microphone, reaches across and quickly dials a number. In another part of the building, the phone rings.
Guthrie here.
Inspector, there's been a fatal shooting and robbery in Middle Brighton. Car 3 is there now, and they've found a .22 cartridge case near the body.
The pair from Baldwin.
Looks that way, Inspector.
Those cars on special patrol in the Baldwin area. Switch them immediately to Brighton.
Yes, sir.
When you've done that, check to see if we've had a report from the Warrigal police station. They were going to make further inquiries from the chap who had the .22 rifle stolen. I'll pick up that in the Brighton address on my way out. I'm taking over.
And while D24 sends out its call, switching the cars on special patrol in the Baldwin area over to Middle Brighton, Inspector Guthrie organizes the photographers and fingerprint experts. At the Information Bureau, another officer checks the files for the latest report from Warrigal.
There's your report, Inspector.
Thanks. Excellent description of Johnson. I'd say it was a certainty he's the taller one of the two fellows we're looking for. You'd better put out this description to all cars.
Yes, sir.
Well, what's this? Jenkinson believes that he remembers Johnson speaking once or twice of a friend who lives south of the Yarra.
Odd way to put it.
Yes, isn't it? If you got a friend living in Toorak or Malvern, you'd say he lived there, not south of the Yarra.
Unless Jenkinson heard it wrongly.
Yes. But it could mean that Johnson comes from the north side of the Yarra, or perhaps all his other friends, bar this one, come from the north side. I'll have to think that one over. It just could be the lead we're after.
Minutes later, as the patrol cars and Inspector Guthrie link up at Middle Brighton, the two youths hold up another victim, 2 stations away at Hampton, taking from him a necktie, a watch, and a small sum of money. The man promptly reports to D24, and another call goes out to the special patrol.
D24, calling Inspector Guthrie and the special patrol in Middle Brighton. Come in, Inspector.
Guthrie here. Go ahead, D24.
A man near Hampton Station has just reported being robbed by 2 youths. One of them carried a knife, the other a gun, which might have been a sawn-off .22 caliber rifle. That is all.
Looks like the same thing, Well, what do you say, Inspector? Will we fan out around the Hampton Station?
More than likely, the birds will have flown. I think it's time we were a jump ahead of them.
Yes, sir, but how?
Before too long, that pair will head for home.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree.
The trouble is, Inspector, we don't know where they live.
I wouldn't say that exactly.
What do you mean, sir?
Well, we're reasonably certain that one of the two is the young fellow who was working in Warrigal as Blue Johnson. Johnson is supposed to have mentioned that he had a friend living south of the Yarra. At least, that's the way we got it.
It's a mighty big place.
There's a lot of territory south of the Yarra, Inspector.
Yes, well, what is?
What I think Johnson must have said is that he had a friend living in South Yarra. There's a big family of Johnsons in South Yarra.
Yes, but Johnson mightn't be the chap's real name.
Well, even if it isn't, someone knowing South Yarra well might take the name Johnson. And I'm betting that pair from South Yarra or thereabouts.
Yes, I think you're right, sir.
Well, what's our best chance then, sir? Intercept them on the way?
That's it. I'll contact D24. We'll have a car placed at every strategic intersection south to north. Norman, you and Crowley drive to Hampton Station and see if we can get any leads.
Yes, sir.
Boyd.
Yes, sir.
Let's follow our theory to its logical conclusion. You and Simmons go to the South Yarra station and keep a lookout there.
A hurried dash through the southern suburbs. One by one, the cars take up position. Report to D24. The trap is set. Now the officers begin a tense vigil. Eyes watching every motor car, every tram, every bus. And at the South Yarra station.
You've got to hand it to Inspector Guthrie. If those two are traveling this way by car, tram, or bus, we ought to nab them.
Should do. And if they're coming by train...
Jim. Huh? Look. Coming out of the station.
Two young chaps. Think they're the ones?
Don't they answered the description. Car 17, calling D24. 17, calling D24.
D24.
Two youths emerging from South Yarra Station. Might be the ones. They're carrying a satchel. We're going after them. Just a minute, lads.
Cop, shut up, Bill. What do you want?
We'd like to see what you're carrying in that satchel.
Why?
We're looking for two young fellows who shot and killed a man in Middle Brighton earlier tonight. Open your satchel.
Sure. Sure, I'll open it for you. This is what's inside. Copper, a gun.
Look out, Jim! Oh, no, you don't. Here, get the other one.
Let go. I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
Not tonight, son. Drop it.
No.
Drop it, I said.
My wrist.
Drop it.
That's better. A sawn-off .22 caliber rifle, eh? What else is in that satchel?
Oh, I ain't saying a word.
Hey, got the gun away from him, Jim. Good work.
You get the other one?
Yes. Nice type. He pulled a knife on me.
Oh, I didn't pull it. Fell out of me pocket.
Get in the car, boys.
Keep your mouth shut, Bill.
Don't think that's going to help. A necktie, 2 watches, and some notes in that satchel. They'll do the talking for you. You're both under arrest.
The two youths were identified by the men whom they'd robbed. Ballistics experts proved that the gun taken from Johnson was the one which had fired the fatal shot. It was the same gun stolen from the farmer in Warrigal. Johnson was found guilty of murder. His companion guilty of robbery under arms. Both received long sentences. Another crime had been cleared up. To the police, it was all in the day's work. To you and me, it meant freedom from what threatened to be a long series of armed and tragic holdups. Full marks must be given for the police work in this case, especially to the officer who, unarmed, overpowered Johnson, knowing full well that the gun in the young desperado's hand had already killed once that night. It must be pointed out, however, that without the cooperation of the public, the police would have been powerless. The farmer who reported the loss of his rifle, the woman who heard the shot, the robbery victims themselves. Had any of these persons failed to act promptly, Johnson and his companion might still be at large today, menacing your life and your property. Although the story you've just heard is factual and is produced with the full cooperation of the Victoria Police Department, in the interests of the families and relatives of the persons concerned, names, place names, and dates have been altered. And now this is Roland Strong saying goodbye until the same time next week, when we'll bring you another authentic program in this series, D24, which is produced in the studios of Hector Crawford Productions by Dorothy Crawford.
present the second episode in the Green Valley Line, the story of a backcountry railroad in the early years of the 20th century. For years, the shareholders of the little railroad have fought against the efforts of the big eastern capitalists, seeking to control the Green Valley Line. Our story resumes at Morristown, the little railroad terminal in the heart of the Green Valley, where some excitement has been aroused by the arrival of young Bill Reed, son of Jacob Reed, the owner of the opposing railroad interests. As the scene opens, we find Bill Reed in company with John Graham, president of the Green Valley Line, just entering the railroad offices at Morristown.
Guess I owe you an apology, Mr. Graham, for sneaking into Morristown like I did.
Well, we'll forget it this time, my boy. But it seemed a little strange to Mrs. Graham and me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. You see, Mr. Graham, I wanted to sort of get my bearings. It was very good of you and Mrs. Graham to ask me to travel west with the family, but I just wanted to drift in here on my own so I could size things up.
Yes? Well, we say no more about it. Now I want to take you in and introduce you to my friend Harkness. If our plans work out, I'm hoping you and he will be working together.
Sure, I hope so, too.
All right, let's go in.
Hello there, White. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Henry. Good morning. Here's a young friend of mine I want you to meet. I hope he'll be a good friend of yours, too. This is Bill Reed.
Howdy, son.
How are you, Mr. Harkness?
Well, sit you right down. I've been looking for you, John. There's quite a few things to talk over.
Yes, but first there's a proposal I talked over with this young fellow's father in the East.
What's that, John?
Well, you see, since Mr. Reed Sr. is going to work with us, he acquired some of the mortgage bonds of the Green Valley.
Just about gotten all of them, ain't he, John?
Why, as to that, I can't say exactly.
Oh, just a minute, Mr. Graham. It may interest you to know, Mr. Harkness, that my father owns all the 3 mortgage issues on the Green Valley system.
Thanks, son. I'm much obliged. I always did admire straight talking. Well, what's this here proposal of yours, John?
Oh, quite a simple matter, and one that's partly understood already. The traffic on the road's increasing, and things have been getting heavy for you, Henry.
Well, I'm making no complaints, John.
Oh, of course not. We thought young Reed here could step in and give us a hand.
In what capacity?
As assistant to you.
Well, sounds like a good idea. It's all right with me, John.
Oh, good. Then we'll call it settled. I want to run up and see Bridges about the accounts. Then I'll be back. Meantime, you two talk things over.
Sure. See you later, John.
Mr. Harkness, I want to ask you a question.
Sure. Go ahead, son.
About this new job of mine. If it weren't for the fact that my father is J.J. Reed, owner of the CK&W, with a big financial interest in your railroad, would I have got this job or wouldn't I?
Well, now, I'll be honest with you, young fella. Why shouldn't I? It certainly does make a difference. Matter of policy, you might say.
Sure, I thought so.
There's no need to worry about that as far as I can see, though. I understand you've had a good railroad training and been holding down important jobs on the CK&W since you left college. If all goes well, you're going to be quite a help on the Green Valley.
If all goes well, yes, that's just it. But we may as well have this thing out right now so that I won't be sailing under false colors.
Well, I don't know that I get you exactly, young fella.
All right, I'll explain. Everybody here in Morristown is talking about the danger of this railroad being sold with the CK&W and the local people losing out.
Sure is a lot of talk going on.
Furthermore, my father, who owns the CK&W, seems to have a pretty bad name around here. Folks accuse him of trying to steal this road.
Well, son, what's the truth of it? You ought to know.
I ought to know, yes, you'd think so. But that's just it. I don't know a thing about it.
Hey, hold on there now. You mean that, young fella?
Sure, I mean it. Dad never said a word about it to me. Of course, I know he's grabbed off a lot of little roads, and there's been a good deal of soreness. Well, naturally, you and everybody else around here would figure that just because I'm J.J. Reed's son, I'm here to put something over on the Green Valley.
Me to say that your old man never told you the state of things out here?
No, not a thing. All he said was you'd better go out west for a while. Graham has a job for you on the Green Valley. Go out there and use your head.
Well, I'll be darned. I'm mighty glad to know that, son. Kind of straightens things out. Nothing like straight talking.
You see, it's rather a tough spot for me, Mr. Harkness, but before I start work, I want to know just how I stand here. And since I'm in the dark about everything, I would like you to tell me what's happening around here. That is, if you feel like it.
Sure, the whole thing's simple enough. You see, the Green Valley runs parallel to the CK&W for 80-odd miles.
Oh, yes. You've got very good grades through the mountains, I believe.
That's right. You see, when they built the CK&W, they was in a hurry. Took the first break they found the mountains and run her right through.
You surveyed the Green Valley line yourself, didn't you, Pop?
Sure. She's only a small road. But I climbed all over them mountains with a transit and finally struck that location through Brown's Pass. Yes, sir. There ain't no better in the West.
So that's what my respected parent is after, eh?
Well, that's it, young feller. And I don't blame him. Now the traffic's speeding up and competition's getting tough. This here Green Valley Pike would make a good buy for the CK&W.
Yes, I can see that. The Green Valley runs through good paying country, too. Why, if Dad got hold of this line, he could drop that stretch of the CK&W and get a faster track and more earnings.
That's the layout, exactly. Jacob Reed is a right smart railroad man with plenty of money behind him. It looks kind of tough for the Green Valley.
But listen, Pop. On the eastern end, the Green Valley hooks up with 3 different lines from Chicago. West of the mountains is a connection with the Midwest Pacific to the coast. Properly handled, this company can stand alone and make a lot of money.
That's true, son. You've got the idea exactly.
All right, sir. Now, if it's a fair question, where does Mr. Graham stand in this deal?
Well, now, that's a mighty difficult question. John Graham's been my partner for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I built the road, and he handled the business end. Up to this spring, we never had a disagreement, but now it's different.
Oh, you mean he's in favor of selling out?
I guess so. Anyhow, he talked over the deal in the East and brought back the proposition.
And just what is this proposition?
There ain't much cash in it. They aim to take over the road, cancel the mortgages, and give everybody stock in the CK&W in place of Green Valley stock.
Why, Pop, that's a downright steal.
That's how she looks to me. Of course, that's my side of it.
It looks to me as though you were right.
Hold on now, young feller. Hold on. Better take care before you start siding in with the Green Valley. I ain't aiming to set you against your own father.
But I'm working for the Green Valley, Mr. Harkness, and nobody else.
Well, now, if that's the way you feel...
Sure. Why, I see the whole scheme now. If I'd accepted that invitation to travel west with the Grahams, I'd have gotten earful. Why, they had it all fixed. Even to picking out a wife for me.
You mean young Carrie Graham?
Sure.
Hold on there, young fella. Now, that's a right smart girl for you. No man ain't make any mistake about that. She's a good friend of mine, too.
Well, that may be, but I think I'll do my own picking.
Sure, but... Hello, who's this?
Hello, Pop. Father around?
Hello there, Carrie. Well, we were just talking about you.
Oh, that's so?
Sure. Say, here's somebody you ought to know, Bill. She canceled Carrie Graham.
Good morning.
How do you do?
Excuse me a minute. I got to run upstairs. You two go ahead and get acquainted.
Here, wait just a minute, Mr. Harkness.
I'll be right back. What? I'll be back after a while.
Well, won't you sit down?
No, thanks.
Oh, all right. You know, it's funny we never met before.
I don't think it's funny.
No?
You chose to keep out of the way in Chicago, and then you beat your way out west like a tramp instead of traveling like a civilized person.
Oh, so you heard about that?
Of course. Hope you had a pleasant trip.
Oh, not bad. It's a lot of fun traveling in a side door, Pullman. You ought to try it sometime.
Huh.
Oh, now, look here. I don't want to start fighting right off the bat. You and I should be friends. But what's the use if you're going to get steamed up over a little thing like that?
It isn't that at all. It's something more serious. I'm not in the habit of snooping, but I was outside the door when you were talking to Pop Harkness just now, and I couldn't help hearing what you were saying.
Oh, really? Well, what's wrong with that?
What's wrong? You getting in solid with old Pop, telling him you didn't know anything about the deal to purchase the Green Valley. Pretty neat.
Say, look here.
Do you expect anybody to believe a story like that, except Pop Harkness? He thinks everybody's as square as he is. You sized him up pretty well, I must say.
So that's the sort of fellow you think I am?
Why not? The whole thing fits in beautifully. Your father gets hold of the Green Valley mortgages. Then he runs in a lot of his own men. The road starts to lose money. And you're the star artist who comes in to put on the finishing touches. I must say you haven't lost any time.
All right. Have it your own way. But let me tell you one thing. If you think for one... hello, Pop.
What's all the argument about?
Oh, nothing, Pop. Just a little difference of opinion. Is Father busy?
Yes, I reckon he is. We got a director's meeting on in full swing.
All right,
upstairs.
I'll run along. See you later, Pop. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Carrie. Don't sound to me as if you'd made a very good start, young feller.
Oh, that's all right. Let's not talk about it, Mr. Harkness. I want to ask you something.
Yeah, what's that, son?
Guess you thought I was a little too impulsive just now, talking about private business, didn't you?
Oh, shucks, no, Bill. I'm glad you went right into it.
After all, you don't know me very well, you know. I might be just trying to get on the inside for reasons of my own.
Gosh darn it, what put them ideas into your head, eh?
Well, I just thought of it. But I want to say this, Mr. Harkness. I am working for the Green Valley and nobody else.
That's how I sized you up, son.
All right, then. That's understood.
Sure. Things is moving fast. We put up this here proposal to the directors, and they turned it down unanimous, all except Graham.
Oh.
I'm sending the wire to your father right now.
Good. That ought to start something.
I reckon it will. Well, Bill, ain't nothing for you to do till tomorrow. Better take it easy now. And have a look around.
All right. I'm going to have some lunch, then I'll be around the yard if you want me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know what the old man says in answer to that telegram.
Well, I'll let you know.
Hello, Spider.
Hello there, Slim.
Well, what are you doing here, Spider?
Well, right now I'm all around, trying to take the slap out of this here side rod. Gosh darn it. This here 1010 was a good engine when I left here last fall, and look at her now.
Oh, what's wrong with her?
Ah, shucks, she's all to pieces. But near died on us, pulling a drag of empties up the hill.
That's all? Well, anyhow, you got that job.
Sure. Cronin took one look at that paper you give me, then put me fine this here yard goat.
Fine.
Gosh, I don't know, Slim.
Why, what's the matter, Spider? Don't you like this job?
Oh, the job's okay, but I don't know. Say, why didn't you tell me you was one of the main guys at this road?
Oh.
Everybody's treating me as if it was a scab or something.
What, just because you got the job through me?
That's the trouble, I guess.
Listen, Spider, you hang on and don't worry. I'll fix that.
Well, okay, Slim.
Hey! Come on there, Spider!
Okay. Well, so long, Slim. I gotta go.
All right. Hello, Bob. What is it? Oh, you got an answer to that telegram.
I sure did it, and a hot one. You want to read it?
Yes, I'd like to know what the old man has to say. President, Green Valley. In view of your decision, I shall expect payment of all back interest on mortgage bonds in full by 1st September. Signed, J.J. Reed. So here's where the war starts.
Yep, it's war all right. There's close to $160,000 due on their mortgages. Not a chance in the world to make it. We only got 3 months.
But we've got to make it, Pop. And somehow, I think we will. And so the real war begins, with young Bill Reed taking a hand against his own father. A fight to a finish for the possession of the little railroad. Don't miss the next episode in The Green Valley Line.
Good evening, I'm Damiano Pietropaulo. Welcome to Sunday Showcase. Tonight, we present the first episode of Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, a co-production with the BBC's Radio 4. Widely regarded as one of the greatest of American novels, Huckleberry Finn is also one of the most controversial. The novel has been dramatized by Canadian Marcy Cann and was recorded in Toronto by Ned Chaillet of BBC's Radio 4. In this episode, Huck, played by Christopher Jacot, stages his own murder and escapes down the Mississippi where he meets Jim, a runaway slave, played by Martin Roach. Together, the two men embark on a harrowing and hilarious journey down the Mississippi in pre-Civil War America.
Persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted. Persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished. Persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot by order of the author.
You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. But that ain't no matter. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth mainly. There was things which he stretched, but I ain't never seen anybody but lied one time or another. Now, the way that book winds up is this. Tom and me found the money that the robbers hid in the cave, and it made us rich. We got $6,000 apiece, all gold. It was an awful sight of money when it was piled up. Well, Judge Thatcher, he took it and put it out at interest. And it fetched us $1 a day apiece, all year round, more than a body could tell what to do with. The widow Douglas, she took me for her son and allowed she would civilize me. But it was rough living in the house all the time, considering how regular and decent the widow was in all her ways. So when I couldn't stand it any longer, I lit out. I got into my old rags and slept in my sugar hogshead and was free and satisfied. But Tom Sawyer, he hunted me up and said he was going to start a band of robbers, and I might join if I would go back to the widow and be respectable. So I went back. Well, then the old thing commenced again. Only this time there were two of them pecking at me. The old widow and her sister, Miss Watson, a tolerable slim old maid with goggles who had just come to live with her.
Don't scrunch up like that, Huckleberry. Sit up straight. And wait until my sister blesses the food.
What's she have to bless it for? There's nothing the matter with it, is there?
Don't be impertinent.
For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful.
Amen. Now then, Huckleberry, beef stew, potatoes, peas, corn.
Thank you, Miss Watson.
Well, Huckleberry, aren't you hungry?
It's just everything on these shiny plates is so separate.
Separate? I'm not sure I follow, dear.
Well, when you rummage in a barrel of odds and ends and all the flavors get mixed up and the juice kind of swaps around, all the things go better.
You heathenish boy, are you saying that you prefer to get your supper out of a swill barrel filled with rubbish?
Yes, ma'am. It's what I'm used to.
Oh, the poor lad. Poor lad, indeed. If you don't try to behave, Huckleberry Finn, and be grateful for your blessings, you go to the bad place.
Don't mind if I do.
Huckleberry.
Well, it would be a change. I'm not particular.
Oh, that's a most wicked thing to say, Huckleberry. I am proud to live my entire life so that I can go to the good place.
Now, sister, let the boy eat his supper.
Miss Watson, you reckon that Tom Sawyer will go to the good place?
Tom Sawyer? Not by a considerable sight.
I'm glad. I want him and me to be together.
Well, I never.
Oh, it's the truth, Miss Watson. You're always going on at me to tell the truth. After supper, I went up to my room with a piece of candle and put it on the table. Then I sat down in my chair by the window and tried to think of something cheerful. But it weren't no use. I felt so lonesome, I almost wished I was dead. I got up my pipe for a smoke, for the house was all still as death now, and so the widow wouldn't know. Meow. I put out my light and scrambled out the window onto the shed. Then I slipped down to the ground and crawled in amongst the trees, and sure enough, there was Tom Sawyer waiting for me. We cut along the path around the garden fence, and by and by fetched up on the steep top of the hill the other side of town. We went down the hill and found Joe Harper and Ben Rogers and 2 or 3 more of the boys hid in the old tan yard. So we unhitched a skiff and pulled down the river 2.5 miles to the big scar on the hillside and went ashore. Gather round now, men. Now we'll start this band of robbers and call it Tom Sawyer's Gang. Everybody that wants to join has got to take an oath and write his name in blood. Fine with me, Tom.
I'm for it.
What kind of oath? Here it is. Every robber must stick to this band and never tell any of the secrets. If anybody harms any member of the band, whichever boy is ordered to kill that person and his family must do it. And he mustn't eat and he mustn't sleep till he has killed them and hacked a cross in their breasts, which is the sign of the band.
Sounds good to me. Me too.
And nobody that doesn't belong to this band can't use this sign. And if he does, he must be sued. And if he does it again, he must be killed. And if any member of this band tells the secrets, he must have his throat cut and then have his carcass burned up and the ashes scattered all around and his name blotted off the list with blood and never mentioned again. Oh, that's a beautiful oath, Tom. Did you make that up out of your own head? Some of it. The rest is out of pirate books and robber books. Every gang that is high-toned has it.
What about killing the families of the boys that tell us secrets?
Well, that's an idea. I can write that in. And their families must be killed.
Here's Huck Finn. He ain't got no family. What you gonna do about him?
Well, ain't he got a father?
Yes, he's got a father, but you can't never find him these days. He used to lay drunk with the hogs in the tan yard, but he ain't been seen in these parts for a year or more.
They talked it over and they was gonna rule me out, because they said every boy must have a family to kill. Well, I was most ready to cry. But all at once, I thought of a way.
What about Miss Watson? You're welcome to kill her. She'll do. She'll do.
That's all right.
Huck can come in.
We played robber now and then about a month, and then I resigned. All the boys did. We hadn't robbed nobody. We hadn't killed any people, but only just pretended. We used to hop out of the woods and go charging down on hog drivers and women in carts taking garden stuff to market, but we never robbed any of them. Tom Sawyer called the hogs ingots, and he called the turnips and stuff jewelry. But I couldn't see no profit in it. Well, 3 or 4 months run along, and it was well into the winter now. I had been to school most all the time and could spell and read and write just a little, and could say the multiplication table up to 6 times 7 is 35. The widow said I was coming along slow but sure and doing very satisfactory. She said she weren't ashamed of me. One morning I went down the front garden and clumb over the stile where you go through the high-board fence. There was an inch of new snow on the ground, and I seen somebody's tracks. They had come up from the quarry and stood around the stile a while. It was funny they hadn't come in after standing around so. I stooped down to look at the tracks. I didn't notice anything at first, but next I did. There was a cross in the left boot heel made with big nails to keep off the devil. Joe Thatcher. Huck!
My boy, you're all out of breath. Did you come for your interest?
No, sir. Is there some for me?
Oh, yes. A half-yearly's in last night. Over $150. You better let me invest it along with your $6,000, because if you take it, you'll spend it.
No, sir. I don't want to spend it. I don't want it at all, nor the $6,000 another. I want you to take it. I want to give it to you, the $6,000 and all.
What can you mean, Huck?
Well, don't ask me no questions about it, please, Judge Thatcher. You take it, won't you?
Well, I'm puzzled. Is something the matter?
Oh, please take it and don't ask me nothing.
Oh, I think I see. Has somebody returned to town who might be troublesome?
Please, Judge Thatcher. Ask me no questions and I won't have to tell you no lies.
That's fine, Huck. But you want to sell all your property to me, not give it. That's the correct idea.
Sir?
For a consideration. That means I have bought it of you and paid you for it. Here's $1. Now, you sign this.
So I signed it and left. I lit out to see Miss Watson's nigger Jim. He had a hairball as big as your fist, which had been took out of the fourth stomach of an ox, and he used to do magic with it.
There's a spirit inside of this hairball, Huck. It knows everything.
Ask it what Pap's gonna do, Jim. How long's he gonna stay?
I need to drop it on the floor. Like so. And then get down to it real close and listen.
What's it saying, Jim?
It says your old father don't know yet what he's going to do. Sometimes he expect he'll go away, and then again he expect he'll stay. The best way is to rest easy and let the old man take his own way.
You know Pap, Jim. He'll skin me alive as easy as look at me.
There's 2 angels up and about your Pap, Huck. One of them is white and shiny, and the other one is black. The white one gets him to go right a little while. Then the black one sails in and busts it all up. Nobody can't tell you which one going to fetch him at the last.
Ask the hairball. Should I run away, Jim?
Hang on now. I need to listen. You was all right, Huck. You was going to have considerable trouble in your life. And considerable joy. Sometimes you're going to get hurt, and sometimes you're going to get sick. But every time, you're going to get well again.
But what about Pap?
Hush. There's 2 gals flying about you in your life. One of them's light and the other one is dark. One is rich and the other's poor. And you's gonna marry the poor one first and then the rich one by and by. He wants to keep away from the water as much as you can and don't run no risk. In case it's down in the bills that you's gonna get hung.
Down in the bills?
Foreordained, Huck.
Right. Thanks, Jim. When I lit my candle and went up to my room that night, there sat Pat, his own self. He was most 50, and he looked it. His hair was long and tangled and greasy and hung down. You could see his eyes shining through like he was behind vines. There weren't no color in his face where his face showed. It was white. Not like another man's white, but a white to make a body's flesh crawl. A tree-toad white, a fish belly white. As for his clothes, just rags, that was all. He sat there looking at me, with his chair tilted back a little. I set the candle down. I noticed the window was up, so he had clumb in by the shed. He kept looking me all over.
Starchy clothes. Very. You think you're a good deal of a big bug, don't you?
Maybe I am, maybe I ain't.
Don't you give me none of your lip. You put on considerable many frills since I've been away. I'll take you down a peg before I get done with you. You're educated, too, they say. Can read and write. Who told you might meddle with such highfalutin foolishness, eh?
The widow, she told me.
Well, I'll learn her how to meddle. I'll learn people to bring up a boy to put on airs over his own father. Your mother couldn't read, and she couldn't write neither before she died. None of the family couldn't before they died. I can't. And here you're a-swelling yourself up like this. Let me hear you read. Go on, if you're so smart, read it.
During the summer of 1780, Washington was prevented from accomplishing anything in the North by the demoralized condition of the finances and by the decline of public spirit. It was very difficult to secure recruits of supplies, the pay of the troops.
It's so. You can do it. I had my doubts when you told me. Now, looky here. You stop that putting on frills. I'll lay for you, my smarty, and if I catch you about that school, I'll tan you good. First, you know, you'll get religion, too.
No, I won't. You can ask Miss Watson.
Ain't you a sweet-scented dandy, though? A bed and bedclothes and a looking-glass and a piece of carpet on the floor, and your own father got to sleep with the hogs in the tan yard. I never see such a son. They say you're rich, eh? How's that?
They lie, that's how.
I've been in town 2 days, and I ain't heard nothing but about you being rich. I heard about it way down the river, too. That's why I come. You get me that money tomorrow. I want it.
I can't got no money.
It's a lie. Judge Thatcher got it. You get it. I want it.
I ain't got no money. You ask Judge Thatcher, he'll tell you the same.
All right, I'll ask him. Say, how much you got in your pocket? I want it.
I ain't got only $1. I want that.
It don't make no difference, but you want it, Fur. You just shell it out.
Next day, he was drunk, and he went to Judge Thatcher's and bully-ragged him and tried to make him give him the money. But he couldn't. The judge and the widow went to law to get the court to take me away from Pap and let one of them be my guardian. But it was a new judge that had just come, and he didn't know the old man.
I appreciate what Mrs. Douglas and Judge Thatcher here have testified, but the courts mustn't interfere and separate families if they can help it.
You hear that?
All in all, I'd rather not take a child away from its own natural father. Case dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll learn my boy to respect me. You can depend on it.
After that, Pep got to hanging around the widows too much. And she told him that if he didn't quit using around there, she would make trouble for him. Well, wasn't he mad? So he watched out one day for me in the spring and catched me and took me upriver about 3 miles in a skiff.
I was long gone. I'll show the world who's the boss of Huck Finn. You see if I don't.
When the widow hears of this, Pop, she's gonna come get me.
The widow?
ain't gonna hear of nothing. You see that woody patch over by the Illinois shore? There's an old log hut in there where the timber is so thick you couldn't find it, not even if you lived there.
We lived in that old cabin, and Papa always locked the door and put the key under his head nights. He had a gun which he had stole, I reckon, and we fished and hunted, and that was what we lived on. It was kind of lazy and jolly, laying off comfortable all day, smoking and fishing, and no books nor study. 2 months or more run along, and my clothes got to be all rags and dirt, and I didn't see how I'd ever got to like it so well at the widow's, where you had to wash and be forever bothering over a book, and have old Miss Watson pecking at you. I didn't want to go back no more. But by and by, Pap got too handy with his hickory, and I couldn't stand it. I was all over welts. He got to going away so much, too, and locking me in. Once he locked me in and was gone 3 days. It was dreadful lonesome. I made up my mind I would find some way to leave there. I found an old rusty wood saw without any handle. I greased it up and went to work. There was an old horse blanket nailed against the logs at the far end of the cabin to keep the wind from blowing through the chinks and putting the candle out. I went to work to saw a section of the big bottom log out, big enough to let me through.
What are you doing? Hulking in that corner.
Ain't doing nothing, Pap.
Get down to the skiff. Fetch up the provision for a tenure hide. I want my supper, damn you.
Right away, Pap. There was a 50-pound sack of cornmeal and a side of bacon, ammunition, and a 4-gallon jug of whiskey besides some rope. I thought it all over and reckoned that once I'd sawed myself out, I would walk off with the gun and some fishing lines and take to the woods. I guessed I'd just tramp right across the country, mostly night times, and hunt and fish to keep alive, and get so far away that the old man nor the widow couldn't never find me anymore.
Huck! Get up here!
Coming, Pat!
Call this a government? Why, just look at it, see what it's like. Here's the law standing ready to take a man's son away from him. A man's own son, which he has had all the trouble and all the anxiety and all the expense of raising. Are you listening?
I'm listening, Pap.
Law takes a man worth $6,000 and upwards and jams him into an old trap of a cabin like this. They call that government. I told Judge Thatcher so to his face. Says I, for 2 cents, I'd leave this blame country and never come near it again. I says, look at my hat. Such a hat for me to wear. One of the wealthiest men in this town if I could get my rights.
Supper's ready, Pat.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's a wonderful government. Wonderful. There was a free nigger in town from Ohio, a mulatta. Most as white as a white man. He had the whitest shirt on you ever see, too, and the shiniest hat. And what do you think? Answer me. What do you think?
I don't know, Pap.
They said he was a professor in a college and could talk all kinds of languages and knowed everything. And that ain't the worst. What do you think they said?
Don't know, Pap.
They said he could vote when he was at home. Well, that let me out. Thinks I. What is the country a coming to? It was election day. I was just about to go and vote myself if I weren't too drunk to get there. But when they told me there was a state in this country where they'd let that nigger vote, I drawed out. I says I'd never vote again.
After supper, Pap took the jug and said he had enough whiskey there for 2 drunks and 1 delirium tremens. That was always his word. I judged he would be blind drunk in about an hour, and then I would steal the key or saw myself out. He drank and tumbled down on his blankets by and by. But luck didn't run my way. He didn't go sound asleep, but was uneasy. At last I got so sleepy I couldn't keep my eyes open. And before I knowed what I was about, I was sound asleep, and the candle burning.
He's crawling! Take him off! He's bit me on the cheek!
Pep! It's all right, Pep.
It's a snake! He's biting me on the neck! You take him off!
There ain't nothing there, Pep.
What's that? Hear that?
Hear what, Pep?
Tramp! 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 That's it! Tramp! 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 They're coming after me! But I won't go. Oh, here. Don't touch me! Don't! Hands off! You're cold! Let go! Oh, let a poor devil alone!
Ain't nothing here, Pep!
You! I know you! Angel of Death! Come here! Angel of Death! I know how to deal with you!
Look, Pep, I'm only Huck!
I'll kill you! You won't come for me no more! You come here!
Pretty soon he was all tired out and dropped down his back against the door and said he would rest a minute and then kill me. So he dozed off pretty soon. By and by, I climbed up the old split-bottom chair and got down the gun. I slipped the ramrod down to make sure it was loaded, and then I laid it across the turnip barrel pointed towards Pep and sat down behind it to wait for him to stir. And how slow and still time did drag along.
Get up! What are you about?
Pep!
What are you doing with this gun?
Someone tried to get in, so I was laying for him.
Why didn't you rust me out?
Well, I tried to, but I couldn't budge it.
Well, all right. But don't stand there palavering all day, but out with you and see if there's a fish on the line for breakfast. I'll be along in a minute.
I went along up the bank with one eye out for Pap and another out for what the rising June River might fetch along. Well, all at once, here comes a canoe. It was a drift canoe, sure enough, and I clumb in and paddle her ashore. Thinks I the old man will be glad when he sees this. She's worth $10. But when I got to the shore, Pep wasn't in sight yet. And as I was running her into a little creek like a gully all hung over with vines and willows, I struck another idea. I judged I'd hide her good, and then instead of taking to the woods when I run off, I'd go down the river about 50 mile and camp in one place for good, and not have such a rough time tramping on foot.
Huck! What are you playing at?
I was pulling at the lines, Pap, and I fell in.
Yeah, that's where your book learning will get you.
Look, Pap, 5 catfish. They'll fry up something special. After breakfast, we laid off to sleep up, both of us being about wore out. About 3:30, Pep locked me in and set out for town. I waited till I reckoned that he had got a good start, then I out with my saw and went to work on that log again. Before he was to the other side of the river, I was out of the hole. Pap in his skiff was just a speck on the water way off yonder. Well, by this time, I reckon it wasn't enough just to escape. If I wanted my freedom, I would have to murder myself. It was all grass clear to the canoe, so I hadn't left a track. I took the gun and went up a piece into the woods, when I see a wild pig. I took the axe and smashed in the door of the cabin. I beat it and hacked it, considerable of doing it. I fetched the pig in and hacked into his throat with the axe, and laid him down on the ground to bleed. Well, next I took an old sack and put a lot of big rocks in it, and I started it from the pig and dragged it to the door and through the woods down to the river. Down it sunk, out of sight. You could easily see that something like a body had been dragged over the ground. I did wish Tom Sawyer was there. I knowed he would throw in the fancy touches. Well, last I pulled out some of my hair and blooded the axe good, and stuck it on the backside and slung the axe in the corner. Then I took up the pig and held him to my breast with my jacket so he couldn't drip, till I got a good piece below the house, and then dumped him into the river. It was about dark now, so I lay down in the canoe to smoke a pipe and lay out a plan. I says to myself, they'll follow the track of that sack full of rocks to the shore and then drag the river for me. They won't ever hunt the river for anything but my dead carcass. They'll soon get tired of that and won't bother no more about me. All right, I can stop anywhere I want to. Jackson's Island's good enough for me. I know it pretty well and nobody ever comes there. I can paddle over to town nights and slink around and pick up things I want. Jackson's Island's the place. I was pretty tired. The first thing I knowed, I was asleep. When I woke up, I didn't know where I was for a minute. Then I remembered. The river looked miles and miles across. Think, maybe it's Pap. Though I weren't expecting him. He dropped below me with the current, and by he comes a-swinging up shore in the easy water. And he went by so close, I could have reached out the gun and touched him. Well, it was Pap, sure enough. Sober, too, by the way he lay to his oars. I didn't lose no time. The next minute I was a-spinning downstream, soft but quick, in the shade of the bank. And how far a body can hear on the water such nights. People talking way over at the ferry landing.
It's getting toward the long days and the short nights about now.
I reckon this ain't one of the short ones.
Say it again, George.
Oh, sorry. This ain't one of the short ones.
Hey, Mike, wake up. George will come up with a good one.
Long days and short nights, Mike, but I reckon this ain't one of the short ones.
Oh, damn it, I am trying to sleep. Oh, come on, Mike. You old man's got to laugh.
Oh, let me sleep. Let me sleep.
I sure was. I have to remember some old woman. She's going to think that's pretty funny.
Nearly 3 o'clock. Oh, sure hope daylight won't wait more than about a week longer.
After that, the talk got further and further away, and I couldn't make out the words anymore. I was away below the ferry now. I rose up, and there was Jackson's Island, heavy timbered and standing up out of the middle of the river, big and dark and solid, like a steamboat without any lights. The sun was up so high when I waked, and I judged it was after 8 o'clock. I laid there in the grass in the cool shade, thinking about things and feeling rested and rather comfortable. I hopped up and went and looked out at a hole in the leaves, and I see a bunch of smoke laying on the water a long ways up, about abreast of the ferry. And there was the ferry boat full of people floating along down. I knowed what was the matter now. You see, they was firing cannon over the water, trying to make my carcass come to the top. By and by, the ferry come along, and she drifted so close that they could have run a plank out and walked ashore. Most everybody was on the boat. Pap and Judge Thatcher and Joe Harper and Tom Sawyer and his old Aunt Polly and the widow Douglas and Miss Watson and plenty more. Everyone was talking about the murder. They was all crowded up and leaning over the rails, nearly in my face, watching with all their might. And the captain pointed straight to where I was standing.
Look sharp now. The current sets in the closest here, and maybe he's washed ashore and got tangled amongst the brush at the water's edge. I hope so anyway.
I didn't hope so. I could see them first rate, but they couldn't see me.
Stand away!
That blast made me deaf with the noise and pretty near blind with the smoke. I judged I was gone. If they'd had some bullets in, I reckon they'd have got the corpse they was after. Well, I see I weren't hurt, thanks to goodness. The boat floated on and went out of sight around the shoulder of the island. I knowed I was all right now. When it was dark, I sat by my campfire, smoking and feeling pretty satisfied. But by and by, I got sort of lonesome. So I went and sat on the bank and listened to the currents washing along, and counted the stars and drift logs and rafts that came down. There ain't no better way to put in the time when you are lonesome. You can't stay so soon get over it. And so for 3 days and nights, no difference, just the same thing. The 4th day, I went exploring around down through the island. I clipped along, and all of a sudden, I bound right onto the ashes of a campfire that was still smoking. My heart jumps amongst my lungs. I never waited for to look further, but uncocked my gun and went sneaking back on my tiptoes as fast as ever I could. If I see a stump, I took it for a man. If I trod on a stick and broke it, it made me feel like a person had cut one of my breaths in two. And I only got half, and the short half, too. When I got to camp, I didn't sleep much. Every time I waked, I thought somebody had me by the neck. By and by, I says to myself, I can't live this way. I'm going to find out who it is that's here on the island with me. I'll find it out or bust. Well, I felt better right off. So I took my gun and slipped off towards where I had run across that campfire. By and by, sure enough, I catched a glimpse of fire away through the trees. I went for it, cautious and slow. There laid a man on the ground. It most give me the fantods. He had a blanket around his head, and his head was nearly in the fire. I sat there behind a clump of bushes and about 6 foot of them and kept my eyes on him steady. It was getting gray daylight now. Pretty soon he gasped and stretched himself and hove off the blankets, and it was Miss Watson's Jim. I bet I was glad to see him. Hello, Jim.
Don't hurt me. Don't. I ain't never done no harm to no ghost. I always liked dead people and done all I could for them. You go and get in the river again where you belong, and don't do nothing to old Jim. I always was your friend.
Jim, I'm not dead. Am I ever glad to see you, Jim? I was getting lonesome, but I ain't lonesome now.
Huck?
I faked the whole thing, Jim. And I knowed it worked because I saw them dragging the river for me. I know you won't tell anyone, Jim. How long you been on the island?
I come tonight out of you was killed.
How'd you come to be here, Jim?
Maybe I better not tell.
Why?
Well, there's reasons. But you wouldn't tell on me if I was to tell you, would you, Huck?
Blamed if I would.
Well, I believe you, Huck. I'll run off.
Jim.
But mind you now, you said you wouldn't tell, Huck.
Well, I did. I said I wouldn't, and I'll stick to it, honest Injun I will. People would call me a low-down abolitionist and despise me for keeping mum. That don't make no difference. I ain't a-going back there anyway. So now, let's know all about it.
Well, you see, old missus, that's Miss Watson, she pecks on me all the time and treats me pretty rough. But she always said she wouldn't sell me down to Orleans. But I noticed there was a nigger trade around the place considerable lately, and I began to get uneasy. Well, one night, I creeps to the door pretty late, and I hear old missus tell the widow she gonna sell me down to Orleans. And she didn't want to, but she could get $800 for me. And it's such a big stack of money, she couldn't resist. The widow, she tried to get Miss Watson to say she wouldn't do it, but I never waited to hear the rest. I lit out mighty quick, I tell you.
Some young birds come along, flying a yard or two at a time and lighting. Jim said it was a sign it was going to rain. Jim knowed all kinds of signs. He said he knowed most everything.
If you gets hairy arms and a hairy breast, it's a sign that you's going to be rich.
You got hairy arms and a hairy breast, Jim?
What's the use to ask that question? Don't you see I has?
Well, are you rich?
No, but I've been rich once, and I'm going to be rich again. Once, I had $14, but I took to speculating and got busted out.
What'd you speculate in, Jim?
Well, first I tackled stock.
What kind of stock?
Why, livestock. I put $10 in a cow. The cow up and died on my hands.
So you lost the $10?
No, I didn't lose it all. I only lost about 9 of it. I sold a hide and tallow for $1.10.
Well, it's all right anyways, Jim. Long as you're going to be rich again sometime or other.
Yes, and I was rich now, come to look at it. I owns myself, and I was worth $800. I wished I had the money. I wouldn't want no more.
We tramped and clumb up a tolerable long, steep hill, about 40 foot high, and by found a good big cavern in the rock.
Know what we should do, Huck? We should hide the canoe and all the traps up here. There's a good flat floor to build a fire.
So we built a fire there and cooked dinner. Pretty soon it darkened up and begun to thunder and lightning. So the birds was right about it. Jim, this is nice. I wouldn't want to be nowhere else but here. Pass me along another hunk of fish and some hot cornbread.
Well, you wouldn't have been here if it hadn't have been for Jim. You'd have been down there in the woods without any dinner and getting most downed too.
Oh, me, Jim.
That you would, honey. Chickens knows when it's going to rain, and so do the birds, child.
The river went on raising for 10 or 12 days, till at last it was over the banks. Many times we'd paddle all over the island in the canoe. It was mighty cool and shady in the deep woods. One night we catched a little section of a lumber raft. That's pine planks. It was 12 foot wide and about 15 or 16 foot long, and the top stood above water 6 or 7 inches, a solid level floor. Another night, just after daylight, here comes a frame house down on the west side. She was a 2-story and tilted over considerable. We paddled out and got aboard, clumb in at an upstairs window. There's a bed, table, 2 old chairs.
Look, over there on the floor.
Looks like a man, Jim.
Hello, you?
Hello? Time to wake up, sir.
The man ain't asleep, Huck. You hold still. I'll go and see.
Is he dead, Jim?
Yes, indeedy. Naked, too. He's been shot in the back. I reckon he's been dead 2 or 3 days. Don't look at his face, Huck. It's too ghastly.
I didn't look at him at all. Jim throwed some old rags over him, but he needn't done it. I didn't want to see him. There were heaps of old greasy cards scattered around over the floor, and old whiskey bottles, and a couple of masks made of black cloth. There were 2 old dirty calico dresses and a sunbonnet, and some women's underclothing, too. We put the lot into the canoe. Take it all around, we made a good haul. We got home all safe. Next morning, I reckon I would slip over the river and find out what was going on. Jim liked that notion, but he said I must go in the dark and look sharp. Then he studied it over and said, couldn't I put on the old calico gown and sunbonnet and dress up like a girl? That was a good notion, too. I turned up my trouser legs to my knees and got into the gown. Jim hitched it behind with the hooks. It was a fair fit. I started up the Illinois shore in the canoe just after dark. There was a light burning in a little shanty that hadn't been lived in for a long time, and I wondered who had took up quarters there. I slipped up and peeped in at the window. There was a woman about 40-year-old in there knitting by a candle that was on a pine table. She was a stranger, for you couldn't start a face in that town that I didn't know.
Come in. Take a chair. Now, what might your name be?
Sarah Williams.
Whereabouts do you live? In this neighborhood?
No, in Hookerville, 7 miles below. My mother's down sick and out of money and everything, and I come to tell my Uncle Abner more. He lives at the upper end of the town, she says.
Oh, it's a considerable ways to the upper end of the town. My husband will be in by and by. He'll take you there.
Then she got to talking, and by and by she dropped on to Pap and the murder. She told about me and Tom Sawyer finding the $6,000, only she got it 10, and all about Pap and what a hard lot he was, and what a hard lot I was. And at last she got down to where I was murdered. Who done it, Mom? We've heard considerable about these goings-on down in Hookerville, but we don't know who 'twas that killed Huck Finn.
Some thinks old Finn done it himself.
No. Is that so?
Well, most everybody thought it at first. You'll never know how nigh he come to getting lynched. But before night they changed around, and they judged it was done by a runaway nigger named Jim.
Why, he...
The nigger run off the very night Huck Finn was killed. So there's a reward out for him, $300. Some folks think the nigger ain't far from here.
Is that so?
A few days ago, I was talking with the old couple that lives next door in the log shanty. And they said hardly anybody ever goes to that island over yonder that they call Jackson's Island. Now, I was pretty near certain I'd seen smoke over there about the head of the island a day or two before that. Like as not, that nigger's hiding over there.
$300 is a power of money. Is your husband going over there tonight?
Oh, yes. He went uptown to get a boat and see if he could borrow a gun. He and another man. They'll go over after midnight.
I'd better go now, Mom.
Oh, just a minute, dear. Just a minute. You see that hole in the corner over there?
Yes'm.
Can you see a rat peering out of that hole?
Yes'm.
Will you be a good girl and see if you can hit that rat with this here bar of lead? I wrenched my arm the other day. Those rats know I can't hit straight. They haven't given me any peace.
Well, I'll try, Ma.
Oh, hey, here he comes. You try to hit him now.
That's mighty good. That's well hit.
Thank you.
What'd you say your name was, honey?
Mary Williams.
I thought you said it was Sarah when you first come in.
Yes, I did. Sarah Mary Williams. Sarah's my first name. Some call me Sarah, some call me Mary.
Now tell me, what's your real name? Is it Bill or Tom or Bob or what is it?
Please don't make fun of a poor girl like me, Mom.
Nah, I ain't gonna tell on you. You're a runaway apprentice, that's all. You've been treated bad and you made up your mind to cut. Tell me all about it now.
Well, Mom, my father and mother's dead, and the law bound me out to a mean old farmer in the country 30 miles back from the river. He treated me so bad I couldn't stand it no longer. So I stole some of his daughter's old clothes and cleared out.
Say, when a cow's laying down, which end gets up first? Answer up prompt now. Which end gets up first?
The hind end, Mom.
Which side of a tree does the most moss grow on?
North side.
If 15 cows is browsing on a hillside, how many of them eats with their heads pointed in the same direction?
The whole 15, Mom.
Well, I reckon you have lived in the country. What's your real name now?
George Peters, Mom.
Yeah, well, try to remember it, George. Don't forget and tell me it's Alexander before you go.
No, Mom.
And if you want to wear that old calico, when you throw at a rat or anything, you hitch yourself up your tiptoe. You fetch your hand up over your head as awkward as you can, and you miss your rat by about 6 or 7 foot.
Yes, Mom.
Now trot along to your uncle, Sarah Mary Williams, George Alexander Peters. If you get into trouble, you send word to Mrs. Judith Loftus, which is me, and I'll do what I can to get you out of it.
I went up the back about 50 yards and then doubled back on my tracks to where my canoe was, a good piece below the house. I went upstream far enough to make the head of the island, and then I started across. The sound come faint over the water, but clear. 11. When I struck the head of the island, I shoved right into the timber where my old camp used to be, and started a good fire there on a high and dry spot. Then I jumped in the canoe and dug out for our place, 1.5 miles below, as far as I could go. Jim, get up and hum yourself, Jim.
Look.
There ain't a moment to lose. They're after us. When the first streak of day begun to show, we tied up to a towhead in a big bend on the Illinois side and covered up the raft with cottonwood branches. We laid there all day. Know something, Jim? When the men got to the island, I expect they found the campfire I built and just watched it all night waiting for you to come.
Lucky for us, that woman you met didn't come to the island. She was too smart to sit down and watch a campfire.
Think so, Jim?
From what you told, she's smart enough to go and fetch a dog.
Why couldn't she tell her husband to fetch a dog?
I bet she did think of it, Huck. They must have gone uptown to get a dog. So they lost all that time, else we wouldn't be here on a towhead 16 or 17 miles below the village. No, indeedy. We would be in that same old town again.
Well, I don't care what the reason was they didn't get us, just as long as they did. What are you doing with those planks, Jim?
What does it look like I'm doing? Building us a wigwam. This'll keep us snug in blazing weather and rainy. I'll put down a floor so we can have a fire without being seen.
The second night we run between 7 and 8 hours, with a current that was making over 4 miles an hour. We catched fish and talked. We took a swim now and then to keep off sleepiness. It was kind of solemn, drifting down the big still river, laying on our backs looking up at the stars. We didn't ever feel like talking loud, and weren't often that we laughed. Only a little kind of low chuckle. We had mighty good weather. Nothing ever happened to us at all. That night, nor the next, nor the next.
Huck, look.
It's like the whole world's lit up, Jim.
Must be St. Louis.
In St. Petersburg, they used to say there was maybe 20 or 30,000 people in St. Louis.
Sure looks likely.
It's mighty quiet.
They's asleep, Huck. Every last one of them.
Every night now, I used to slip ashore at some little village and buy 10 or 15 cents worth of meal or bacon. Take it all around, you live pretty high.
See what I mean about this wigwam, Huck, honey?
I see, Jim. We're as snug as a bug in a rug.
That's it. We let this old raft just float on down.
Hello, Jim. Looky yonder.
Steamboat. She's killed herself on that rock.
Let's land on her, Jim.
I don't want to go fool along with no wreck. Like as not, there's a watchman on that wreck.
Watchman, your grandmother. You think anybody's gonna risk his life on a night like this?
We's doing blame well, Huck. We better let blame well alone, as the good book says.
You might borrow something worth having. Out of the captain's stateroom? Cigars, I bet you. And cost 5 cents apiece, solid cash. Steamboat captains is always rich and get $60 a month. Stick a candle in your pocket, Jim, till we give her a rummaging.
Let's quit while we's ahead, Huck.
You reckon Tom Sawyer would ever go by this thing? Not for a pie, he wouldn't. He'd call it an adventure. That's what he'd call it. And he'd land on that wreck if it was his last act. Why, you'd think it was Christopher Columbus discovering Kingdom Come. I wish Tom Sawyer was here.
Come on, then. But don't let's talk more than we can help.
The deck was high out here. We went sneaking down the slope of it to Layboard in the dark towards the Texas deck, feeling our way slow with our feet and spreading our hands out to fend off any guy ropes, for it was so dark we couldn't see no sign of them. Pretty soon we struck the forward end of the skylight and clumb onto it. The next step fetched us in front of the captain's door, which was open. And by Jiminy, away down through the Texas hull, we see a light.
Oh, please don't, boys. I swear, I won't ever tell.
It's a lie, Jim Turner. You've acted this way before.
You always want more than your share of the truck, and you always got it, too, because you swore if you didn't, you tell. But this time, you said it just one time too many. You're the meanest, treacherousest town in this country.
Hear that, Jim?
I'm feeling powerful sick, Huck. I was going back to the raft.
All right, Jim. Jim headed back for the raft. I was just a-biling with curiosity. I says to myself, Tom Sawyer wouldn't back out now, so I won't either. So I dropped on my hands and knees in the little passage and crept forward in the dark. There was a man stretched on the floor, tied hand and foot, and 2 men standing over him. And one of them had a dim lantern in his hand, and the other one had a pistol. This one kept pointing the pistol at the man's head on the floor.
I'd like to, and I order to, a mean skunk.
Oh, please don't, Bill. I ain't never gonna tell.
Hear him beg? And yet if we hadn't got the best of him and tied him, he'd have killed us both.
No.
But I lay you ain't gonna threaten nobody anymore, Jim Turner. Put up that pistol, Bill.
I don't want to, Jake Packard. I'm for killing.
But I don't want him killed. And I got my reason.
Oh, bless your hearts for them words, Jake Packard. I'll never forget you, as long as I live.
Packard hung up his lantern on a nail and started towards where I was, and motioned Bill to come. I crawfished as fast as I could, but the boat slanted, so I couldn't make very good time. So I crawled into a stateroom on the upper side. When Packard got to my stateroom, he called Bill in after him. I was in the upper berth, cornered, and sorry I come.
I'm for putting him out of his troubles, Jake.
Oh, so am I, Bill. Shooting's good, but there's quieter ways if the thing's got to be done. We'll rustle around, gather up whatever pickings we've overlooked in the staterooms, and shove for shore.
What about Jim Turner?
He stays here. Ain't gonna be more than 2 hours before this wreck breaks up and washes off down the river. See? Turner will be drowned and won't have nobody to blame for it but his own self.
But suppose she don't break up and wash off?
Oh, we can wait 2 hours and see, can't we? If she don't, we can reboard and finish them off ourselves.
Now that's more like it.
So they left and I lit out, all in a cold sweat, and scrambled for the deck. It was dark as pitch there. Jim! Right there, Jim!
Huck, I told you Maybe we shouldn't be here.
Quick, Jim, no time for moaning. There's a gang of murderers in yonder. We don't hunt up their boats instead of drifting down the river so these fellows can't get away from the wreck. There's one of them going to be in a bad fix. But we can put them all in a bad fix for the sheriff will get them. Quick, I'll hunt the larboard side, you hunt the starboard side. You start at the raft and I'll go get...
Lordy, raft? There ain't no raft no more. She done broke loose and gone. And that gang of murderers is in there. And here we is.
Well, we have run long. I'll just say good night. Thank you for joining us here at Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. Sleep tight. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.